Chapter 1, Introduction to the Kundalini. Before we get into the details of Kundalini and its awakening, we should first become familiar with our terms. You'll need to know exactly what Kundalini is and why it's so important in order for the later chapters of this book to make sense. You'll need to learn the basics of your chakras also, to understand how Kundalini awakening practices overlap with and influence chakra healing. As this chapter progresses, we'll start with the history of Kundalini before getting into its applications for the chakras, for overall healing, and for your life in general. Buckle up for the ride. The history of Kundalini. Around the time 3000 BC, ancient Indians were beginning to speak and write about Kundalini. Little coiled one is what it meant to them in their language, Sanskrit, but it meant a lot more than just the image of a little snake residing at the base of one's spine. To these ancient Indians, Kundalini was their connection to the sacred and divine energy of the universe and of creation itself. They called that source or creation energy prana, and prana Shakti, or Shakti, was how it manifested in life forms like humans and animals on earth. For humans, Shakti lies at the base of the spine, infusing the body, mind, and soul of the individual with life and passion and verve. Kundalini is a vehicle for spreading Shakti throughout the body, and when Kundalini, that small coiled snake that sleeps at the base of all our spines, is awakened, it will make the individual a vessel for source energy in a myriad of ways. While this original practice and acknowledgement of Kundalini was not attached to any religion or dogma in particular, it was attached to ancient Indian spiritual tradition and became linked with its gods and goddesses to a certain degree. Kundalini didn't just exist in ancient India, however, which is absolutely fascinating to me. With different names and different gods and goddesses attached to its understanding, Kundalini also existed in ancient Egyptian civilizations. Have you ever wondered what the Ankh symbol represents in Egyptian symbology and history? Essentially, it signifies the coming together of masculinity and femininity, the divine male and female energy, for the purpose of creation, or source recreation. Egyptian rulers would then carry the Ankh as a talisman of spirituality and alignment with source potential in their day-to-day rulings and other actions. In ancient Indian culture, too, Kundalini was symbolized by the lingam yoni, another combination of masculine and feminine energies in physical form. This similarity and more reveal that these two ancient cultures were on the same page about a force so intense and impactful. Then, there is ancient China, where the concept of qi arises, bearing incredible resemblance to prana, Shakti, and Kundalini awakening in India. Once again, however, the wording is totally different from country to country. It's what they're talking about that's so fascinatingly the same. For these ancient Chinese people, qi was essentially the life or source energy that exists within all of us, but not many of us are very in control of this energy. Qi can affect the health and one's physical energy level generally, but when it's aligned with sexuality, qi can do even more unbelievable things. Just as Kundalini-oriented sexual practices focus on the reversal of orgasm energy, see Chapter 3 for more details, to the crown rather than out one's base. Ancient Chinese people knew that sending orgasm energy back to the brain could lengthen life, reverse the effects of aging, and more. This awareness of a central channel inside the body that directs energy from place to place also harkens Kundalini from ancient Indian culture, too. Kundalini arises again in world history with the onset of alchemy as a practice in the Middle Ages. Once more, with different names and terminology, Kundalini came to the people through a practice in which the followers claimed they were learning it so they could turn base metals into gold. The real purpose was a little more complicated. These alchemists were really just working on spiritual awakening. And the story about turning base metals into gold? That was really more of a metaphor about the personality practice they were engaging in to find a more spiritual self-alignment. Alchemy is a fascinating topic to explore. For the more and more details you learn, the more and more it almost explicitly overlaps with Kundalini appreciation in Indian tradition. In sum, the basic tools used in alchemy correlate to different ways one can unlock his or her central channel for the sake of self-betterment, enlightenment, awakening, psychic powers, and more, like what the ancient Chinese were referencing with orgasm reversal. Aside from these other world examples, though, Kundalini only retained the same name and the exact same details in its country of origin, and all the while in ancient India, Kundalini awareness was also backed by the practice of yoga. Physical movement and meditation were equally important to get that small coiled snake to uncoil and get going. Vivihan, one Indian yogi, Yogi Bhajan, brought Kundalini Yoga to California in the United States in the 1960s. His practice focused on expanded consciousness without drugs and with some hearty and real spiritualism instead. Yogi Bhajan taught a method of yoga that focused on discipline and bodily awakening for the sake of the true self, and this action created a rapid-fire awareness of Kundalini that continues to the present day. What is Kundalini all about, exactly? Kundalini is, first of all, a metaphor for the energy flow in our bodies. The word means little coiled one, and it describes a snake that lies asleep at the base of our spine that's somehow filled with godly and godlike energy. The serpent or snake sleeps there and waits to act as a vehicle for divinity in our bodies and lives. As awakening happens, the snake begins to wake up, uncoil, and move throughout our bodies like it's swimming through a placid lake. Blockages in the body are then processed and dissolved. Irritations and personality quirks melt away. Emotional expression becomes easier and easier. With the energy of creation flowing through us, things become easier, and we become transcendent in a number of ways. So, on one hand, Kundalini will always be about how divine energy can flow within our bodies with the right effort and practice. Secondly, Kundalini is a practice of being in the world that focuses on your soul's awakening to truth. Kundalini awareness, whether boosted through meditation, physical exercise, yoga, music, art, forgiveness, conversations, big life events, or otherwise, helps you learn to hear and channel your own truth better. It can help you gain insight during times of need, it can help you feel less alone, it can help you find your direction in life, and so much more. All you have to do is get in touch with yourself through a variety of techniques and then open yourself to your own inner potential. Kundalini will do the rest. Third, Kundalini is an image that the ancient Indian people created to express what they felt about divinity. For them, Kundalini was about the potential that rests within us. It was about the fact that we all have source energy divinity inside of us that can be awakened with the right combination of awareness, practice, focus, and effort. In every culture Kundalini existed in, no matter what it was called, it was used as a way to connect with the gods of the time. It was always a way to unlock and harness psychic potential and learn from godly examples. Basically, Kundalini was one way these ancient people found proof of their gods, but at the same time, Kundalini also taught them that true God would never require a dogma in order to be appreciated and boosted in one's life. For us today, Kundalini is similar in that it teaches us our godly potential while denying the need for a cult of worship. Kundalini is simply there, and as it awakens, it demonstrates our connection with life, with the divine, and with the entire rest of humanity. Finally, Kundalini is about healing on all levels. Across time, Kundalini awareness and awakening have been tied up with healing attempts. Ancient Chinese people, along with medieval and Renaissance alchemists, were surely using their versions of Kundalini to try to make themselves better. Ancient Egyptian rulers carried their angst to help solidify and strengthen their power, effectively healing their rulership capabilities. Ancient Indians, too, were working on healing themselves and one another through the Kundalini's central channel. No matter what culture the message surfaces from, it seems to be the same. With increased awareness of the energy systems in the body, we can learn to reverse maladaptive processes and instigate deeper, lasting healing. Chakras and the Kundalini. One of the easiest ways to think of the Kundalini is to think of it in terms of your chakras. The Kundalini obviously deals with inner movement, healing and divinity, but it can be confusing to see how that all actually happens for you, your healing, and your body when it's not visible and only explained through the metaphor of a rising serpent. Let's take a step back and stand from scratch with your understanding here, and I think you'll be able to work it out better in no time. Imagine that there are 7 energetic centers in your body, all aligned at different spots on your spine. At each of these centers, energy flows from one point onto the next, but sometimes, things get a little stuck. Some centers close up after you experience trauma or get in a fight, while other centers might start moving energy in the wrong direction, affecting the overall flow of this intricate system for the worst. Sometimes, just a bad day or a misplaced personality trait can get things working far from their best in those centers. Now, imagine that these 7 energetic centers are also connected with 7 respective and important glands for your body that keep it, and you, running in shipshape. These centers are essentially your chakras. The whole situation I've just described is real, and the worst can absolutely happen to you. Enter Kundalini Awakening. When you come to a time in your life when you're ready to begin a spiritual awakening, those blockages and flow stoppers will be much bigger problems than you may have thought they were. You'll come to realize that they're embodied in your chakras, and it'll be up to you to dig out the poison. Those 7 energetic centers linked to glands are indeed called your chakras, and we can walk through them so that you have a better understanding as we move forward. Of those 7 chakras or energy wheels, each one associates with a different color, pan of the body, energy of healing, and more. First, we'll start with the root chakra. The root chakra is located on the base of the spine where Kundalini and Shakti rest. The root chakra is also called Muladhara, and it links with the color red, affecting areas of your life that deal with survival, security, safety, sexuality, and groundedness. Furthermore, this chakra relates to healing the reproductive organs, the legs, and the feet. The second chakra is the sacral chakra, and it's located just a few inches below your belly button. The sacral chakra is also called Svadhisthana, and it links with the color orange, affecting areas of your life that deal with creativity, originality, community, trust, pleasure, and movement. This chakra has the healing capacity for the intestines, the ovaries, and the body's detoxification system. The third chakra is the solar plexus chakra, and it's located a few inches above the navel, around the diaphragm where the rib cage comes together in the lower chest. The solar plexus chakra is also called Manipura, and it links with the color yellow, affecting areas of our lives that deal with confidence, willpower, assertiveness, dominance, need for control, communicating one's truth, and feeling brave. Furthermore, this chakra heals ailments related to digestion, anxiety, self-worth, and the body's detoxification system. The fourth chakra is the heart chakra, and it's located directly where you'd think it would be, at the heart. It's also called Anahata, and it links with the color green, affecting areas of your life that deal with love, compassion, joy, interpersonal warmth, selflessness, and family or partnership. In addition, this chakra heals ailments of the circulatory, respiratory, and skeletal systems. The fifth chakra is the throat's chakra, and it lies in the throat, as you'd expect. It's also called Vishuddha, and its color is blue. It affects areas of your life that deal with communication, vocalization, truth, sharing, supporting, and purification. It can even heal ailments related to respiration, skeletal health, and ingestion. The sixth chakra is the third eye chakra, and it rests in between one's brows. It's also called Ajna, and it links with the color indigo, affecting areas of your life that deal with insight, intuition, literal and metaphorical sight, guidance, perception of reality, manifestation, and overall mentality. Furthermore, this chakra contains healing capacity for one's vision, intellect, brain, skin, and hearing. The seventh and final chakra contained within one's physical body is the crown chakra, and it rests at the tip of one's head. It's called Sahasrara, and its respective color is a loud and vibrant purple. This chakra affects one's psychic abilities, spirituality, connection with divinity, sense of purpose and mission, direction in life, and consciousness of the cosmic reality. This chakra also heals issues that relate to the brain, skin, and hair growth. Now, with all 7 of these chakras spinning in the right direction with no blockages whatsoever, your Kundalini would be unable to help itself from rising into that state of bliss it perceives up above. Ultimately then, the goal, as one gets ready for Kundalini awakening, is to help clear, open, and align those chakras. With the greatest ease of motion achieved, Kundalini will respond and demonstrate how well it knows what to do. As you begin to work through blockages or energetic reversals of these chakras, you may find that those struggles look something like this. For the root chakra, blockages might look like low energy, general fear, constant fatigue, identity crisis, feeling disconnected from the world, eating disorders, general loss or inconsistent of appetite, overt materialism, trouble saving money, or constant health problems in general. For the sacral chakra, blockages or reversals might look like lack of creativity, lack of inspiration, low or no motivation, low or no sexual appetite, feelings of unimportance, feelings of being unloved, feelings of being unaccepted, feelings of being the outcast, inability to care for oneself, or consistent and repeated relationship problems with one's intimate partners. For the solar plexus chakra, blockages might look like identity crises or deficits, low self-esteem, low or no self-worth, digestive issues, food intolerances, poor willpower, constant tiredness, constant nausea, anxiety disorders, liver disorder or disease, frequent infections, lack of core strength, lack of overall strength, consistent depression with little release, feelings of being betrayed, feelings of being rejected, feelings of being replaced, or excessive energy. For the heart chakra, reversals and blockages might look like the inability to love oneself or others, inability to put others first, inability to put yourself first, inability to get over a problematic ex, constantly holding on to grudges, trust issues, social anxiety or intense shyness, inability to express emotions in a healthy way, problems with commitment, constant procrastination, intense anxiety, or the inability to make or keep friends. For the throat chakra, blockages might look like oversharing, inability to speak truthfully, inability to communicate with others, literal laryngitis, sore throats, breathing or airway restrictions, asthma, anemia, constant fatigue, inability to find the right words, paralyzing fear of being misunderstood, nervousness in public situations, occasional intense dizziness, verbal submissiveness, verbal dominance, or conflict avoidance. For the third eye chakra, blockages or reversals might look like lack of direction in life, increasingly intense feelings of boredom or stagnancy, migraines, insomnia, eye or vision problems, depression, high blood pressure, inability to recall one's dreams, constant and jarring flashbacks, closed-mindedness, paranoia, history of mental disorders, history of addiction, lack of feeling connected to the world and nature and others, cynicism, constant irritation, or uncontrollable acne breakouts. For the crown chakra, blockages might look like feelings of greed, intense depression, need for dominance over others, self-destructive behaviors, history of addiction, generally destructive behaviors, dissociations from the physical plane, inability to make even the simplest decisions, constant fatigue, horrible migraines, hair loss, anemia, cognitive fog, poor mental function, lack of intellectual abilities, or feeling unworthy of divinity, God, or creation. What to do with your Kundalini now? That you know all these details about the chakras, you can start to understand what to do with your Kundalini. Once these blockages and energetic reversals are corrected and worked through, you can use the Kundalini to align and open the chakras even more than you could do consciously. You can bring Kundalini to the game with no holding back and make sure things get opened up from the inside out. Aside from chakras, however, you can use Kundalini for so much more. Using Kundalini feels so wrong to say, but you get the gist. There are things that can be strengthened by adding Kundalini to the mix, and there are things that you'd never experience if it wasn't for your connection to Shakti through that Kundalini serpent. As you approach Kundalini awakening, keep the following possibilities under consideration, for there are many potential goals in the awakening process, and it's up to you to decide what you think you can handle. To start, you can simply become increasingly aware of your Kundalini through meditation on Shakti and Prana. Even before you reach a stage where you're approaching awakening, or knee-deep in it, you can become aware of so much more in your body, in others, and in the world by meditating on the source energy and directing that insight toward Kundalini. Your efforts, in this case, will help establish a base of potential for energetic work later on. You can become more conscious of Kundalini by using it to instigate your awakening or by letting it happen naturally. If you're interested in speeding up the process, consider any of the techniques listed in Chapter 3. If you're more interested in taking things naturally, and thereby, a bit more slowly, simply start meditating. Try to incorporate daily meditation practice into your life, or if you already do yoga, start adding a longer meditation segment to the end of your yoga practice when you do so. When you meditate, you can either work to silence your thoughts and connect with that calm, still space within, or you can meditate on Kundalini itself and its potential in order to start doing that important Kundalini work in the world. You can apply Kundalini to the work of developing your psychic abilities, which have always already been a part of you. One side effect of Kundalini awakening is that you'll become more connected than ever to your psychic abilities, and yes, I used the plural abilities on purpose. You'll have to get used to thinking of psychicness as something natural instead of supernatural. It's not crazy to think of yourself as psychic, much less with psychic abilities. In truth, humans are innately psychic creatures, and each of us has a variety of psychic gifts to unlock with time and patience. It won't be just one thing, it will be a combination of gifts that intertwine and add context or direction to your soul mission in life. How you choose to use those gifts is up to you, but if you're at the point of Kundalini awakening when you receive them, you'll surely want to align your use of those gifts with your highest possible potential. You can experience mystical connection and enlightenment through Kundalini awakening, too. As you work through your chakras and get to the crown, you should be feeling a whole new connection with divinity. Your Kundalini will then begin to move and churn through your energy centers, and things will change once again. You may find that you experience inexplicable bliss, personality trait shifts, connection with spirit guides and guardians, the release of old fears, and more as you get to this point with awakening, but your intellect won't be boggled or left behind, it'll be along for the ride. Remember that you don't have to intentionally use Kundalini for this end, for it will happen as a symptom of your awakening regardless. You can even heal yourself and others with the power of Shakti flowing freely through you. Whether you choose to use this power for yourself or others, too, that is up to you, but for now, know that you will become gifted with healing capacity as your Kundalini awakening proceeds. Your body will begin to naturally heal itself, and even your cells will become replenished and repaired in ways you may never have imagined were possible. While the adjustment to Kundalini awakening will be rough and there will periods of detoxification, once you get into the process, you will find that you feel better than ever and ready to take on the world. You can live more authentically. With your Kundalini active and engaged, you'll feel more confident, brave, worthy, and inspired to act out your soul mission in the world, and you won't be able to handle the expression of inauthentic emotions, whether from yourself or others. As you align with awakening, godliness, and divinity, you additionally settle yourself in the camp of the genuine, the authentic, and the honest. You will want to support the people you love, and you will want to provide service to others you know really need it. You'll become more conscious of how the system around you works, so you'll be picky and cautious about where you spend your money. Overall, you'll be able to live a fuller, more hectic life, but it will also be so much more rewarding once you get there and allow the experiences to flow. As a final point for now, you can also direct Kundalini energy toward any goal, whether manifestation, healing, attraction, or otherwise. When it comes down to it, you'll be hard-pressed to find a single thing that can't be strengthened or adapted for the better with Kundalini awakening behind it. You'll be able to harness your focus toward any means, any dream, and any goal. You'll be able to put plans in motion that have only been passing thoughts until now. You'll understand yourself and the world better than ever before, enabling you to act in it in ways that attract exactly what you want. Think of yourself as a powerful magnet, drawing to you whatever you need, and that's essentially what you can expect. Get ready for the adventure. Awakening is going to be a wild experience for us all. Frequently asked questions TLDR version coming your way. If you'd rather just skip to the basics, this section has it all packed into one place, but if you've ended up here because you still read books chapter by chapter sequentially, this section may be a bit of a recap, although it may still help to hone the information you've been taking in so far. Overall, you're in for some focused and purposeful information sharing before we move on to the juicier details of Kundalini, awakening benefits, relevant awakening techniques, and more. What is Kundalini? When it comes down to it, Kundalini is a vessel for Shakti, universal, cosmic, divine, godly, goddess energy to flow in the human body. For some realms of study, Kundalini actually is the goddess or goddess energy of the universe manifested in our bodies, for it is what inspires artistic creation and reproductive procreation in the human realm. Regardless, Kundalini is the inward example of all that is too big for us to understand, and when it's activated, it can provide the most incredible experiences, and life in general, for the practitioner. What is Kundalini Yoga? Kundalini Yoga is a practice brought to the United States, and the West in general, in the 1960s by a practitioner named Yogi Bhajan. He wanted to share with these drug-using, countercultural hippies of America how to really reach spiritual highs. His version of enlightenment didn't require drugs, rock and roll, or travel. Yogi Bhajan's method was Kundalini awakening as focused through yoga. Basically, the movement of the body through yoga helps to work out blockages and increase the flow of the Kundalini, so this guided meditation preaches an ability to perform what all those kids using psychedelics were trying to do, but better. How does Kundalini Yoga tie into Kundalini awakening? Kundalini Yoga ties indirectly to Kundalini awakening. Awakening cannot truly take place without the practice of something physical to make sure that the body and mind are balanced, and Kundalini Yoga is the perfect tie-in to Kundalini awakening in this sense. If you can find a local yoga studio that offers Kundalini Yoga, take them up on it. It is a wonderful guide into the experience of enlightenment. What should I expect from my Kundalini awakening? For more details, you can check out Chapter 2 to see the different elements of what to expect and Chapter 4 for worst-case scenarios and ways to troubleshoot the experience. However, you can also find a general answer in the next few sentences. As you begin the process of Kundalini awakening, i.e., meditation, yoga, introspection, self and world analysis, and more, you will find yourself buzzing. You'll experience more synchronicities than ever before, and you may find yourself additionally guided to work through or process old wounds emotionally and physically. As you fully engage with awakening, there will be a detoxification period in which you're cranky, you smell, and the last thing you want to do is meditate. Work through it. Bust through this phase, and on the other side, you'll experience the symptoms of full-fledged Kundalini activation and more. Expect health, excitement, connectivity to the universe and divinity, hope, less depression, healthier eating, guidance, synchronicities, and love coming to you from every corner of your life. Is Kundalini, Shakti, Prana, Chi, and Reiki all talking about the same thing? Essentially, yes. Kundalini is one expression of Shakti, which is the same thing as Prana, Chi, and Reiki. These terms are all talking about the intrinsic, creative, source energy of the universe. The positive and negative, the dark and the light, the attraction and loss, the creation and destruction, the opposites of existence as we live and breathe them on a daily basis are this source energy, we just live in the midst of it. Will this experience be dramatic or subtle? Uncomfortable or easy? Painful or painless? At the stand of your Kundalini process, depending on what chakra blockages, old wounds, and traumas you have to work through to reach an awakening vibration, things may be dramatic and painful. But if you remain determined and keep focus, you will work through those feelings and dramatic times to reach a peaceful and stable future space that's fully aligned with enlightenment. On the other hand, awakening will be uncomfortable, at times, for everyone. That's unavoidable, but being uncomfortable once in a while is a good thing. It keeps us on our toes, and it enables us to relearn our boundaries, for they do happen to change as we grow and heal. Kundalini awakening teaches us to learn from these so-called negative experiences of discomfort, drama, and pain so that we can see how they shape us and what they ultimately teach us about ourselves and humanity as a whole. What will I get out of it? First of all, this type of thinking isn't necessarily aligned with the vibration of enlightenment or awakening. If you're coming at the opportunity skeptically yet looking immediately to get something out of the experience, I'm not even sure your thinking is aligned with itself. If you're skeptical, try it out and see what happens. What have you got to lose? If you're not skeptical but a believer looking for gains, try meditating on Kundalini awakening as a potential for you and see if you're guided in any way. It could honestly be that Kundalini awakening isn't right for you at this time, but if you truly believe it is, hear this and ponder away, you will get as much out of it as you put into it. Do I need a guru/guardian/healer/teacher for this type of work? Short answer, no, you do not. Longer answer, anyone could benefit from a teacher, but you don't necessarily need one for this endeavor. Your own connection to yourself, your guides, and your Kundalini can be all that you need to succeed in terms of awakening. There are also a plethora of websites to skim through when seeking advice, and Chapter 4 of this book also provides troubleshooting tactics for when you need some guidance. However, if you happen upon a teacher or guru, see where that relationship takes you. Never turn down such a gorgeous serendipity. How do you awaken the Kundalini? There are a number of different techniques you can use to start things up and speed things along, and those methods can be found in Chapter 3, but until you get there, here's a brief guide. First, you begin meditating and practicing yoga, or other light physical exercise. Then, you might change your diet to be healthier or for higher vibration. Then, you might have a plethora of other changes that you want to make in your life as your daily routine becomes more complex and oriented toward health. Eventually, in meditation, you will feel clear and open, and the Kundalini will begin to rise. This marks the beginning of awakening, and you will be set on your path. What are the health benefits of Kundalini awakening? A number of health benefits can be found in Chapter 2, but for now, it will suffice to know that Kundalini awakening can trigger a number of healing patterns. It can help repair cells and trigger autophagy. It can heal injuries, emotional and physical in nature. It increases mental health and emotional stability. It can heal the immune system. It can help with respiratory function. It works for the heart, and it can do so much more. If I'm practicing another religion, should I try to awaken myself in this way, or is it too much? Kundalini awakening will not interfere with your religious practice. You can easily overlap your faith onto the practice of awakening. If you need to, you can call Shakti something else that aligns with your God. If you can't call it meditating, call it thinking things out. If you can't call it yoga, call it stretching. Adapt things as needed and allow them to mesh together. You can absolutely keep working on awakening no matter what truth you believe in. Will Kundalini awakening be in conflict with my other methods of searching for spiritual enlightenment? I guess it depends on what other methods you're using. However, the answer for the most part is no. Kundalini awakening shouldn't be in conflict with your other methods. In fact, it should strengthen your overall search for enlightenment, because Kundalini awakening is so needless of dogma or religion to back it up. It can exist without faith, and it can be combined so easily with many other spiritual expressions. Surely, it will only bolster your other methods, and it will be fascinating to see how they all work together to help your divine truth. Is forcing the Kundalini awake a bad move? Yes. You don't want to explicitly force the Kundalini to do anything. Even instigating your awakening can be too much for some people, so I always recommend that people start slowly with the process to ensure that they don't hurt themselves, energetically, physically, emotionally, and/or mentally. Begin by just meditating daily for a week or so and adding in yoga and exercise when possible. Then, add in other tactics as you see fit, but incorporate them gently and slowly. Don't try everything at once. It might seem awesome to just be in the state of awakening right now, but you likely aren't emotionally ready to work through those chakra blockages yet, and if you force the movement of Kundalini harshly, you can do some lasting energetic damage to it, your chakras, and yourself as a whole. Will this awakening get in the way of my work? It's not likely that Kundalini awakening will get in the way of your work, but when you're in those pre-activation stages where things are detoxifying, you may want to be a little more patient with your coworkers or even take a mental health day when possible. It's not altogether necessary for you to take off from work, and it's probably energetically better for you to work through any hardships rather than avoid them, but it can also sometimes help. As a piece of advice for those working through tough emotional remnants at work, try grounding as much as possible. Breathe deeply and try to find a moment or two of peace to meditate. Ground yourself in your goals and your truth, then see if anything has changed. Will this awakening get in the way of my family? There's virtually no reason why your Kundalini awakening should get in the way of family time. If you have a family and you're concerned about this question in particular, make sure that you schedule your meditations for times when you can be alone. Make sure that you take your family's needs into account as much as possible, but be communicative about what you're going through so that they can be compassionate and understanding alongside you as you grow. If it's extended family you're worried about, just stick with your truth and stay grounded if they attempt to challenge you. If grounding fails, take that quintessential step back and take a deep breath. Put a pin in the idea and allow yourself to process it fully later when you can handle it better. What happens if my Kundalini starts awakening and stops? This experience is more common than you may think, and I think it happens because people are doing one of two things. 1. They could be forcing the awakening in the first place, and their bodies were catching up with them. 2. They could also be coming to a point with awakening where they feel they know everything, and then Kundalini slithers back down to rest because that arrogance does not leave any space for growth. If you had an awakening start and stop in the past, consider your actions. If you're ready to try again, keep in mind that past outcome and use it as a motivating teacher moving forward. Does exercise help or hinder awakening of this type? Exercise is a great boost to one's Kundalini awakening, as long as you're not overdoing it. In fact, practicing an awakening without any sort of physical exercise means that the awakening would be completely unbalanced if it could even be achieved. Physical exercise helps the body process scars from trauma in ways our brains might not even be able to understand. Whether it's dance, running, lifting, core work, aerial arts, yoga, or anything else, just do it. Your body, and Kundalini, will be thankful you did. What will the awakening look like once it's finally achieved? Awakening is never quite fully achieved. It's more of an ongoing process in and through the depths of spirituality and divinity as one's life progresses. However, the individual in the process of awakening will be and act a certain way in the world as he or she gets used to the potential involved in awakening. The individual will be kinder than normal to everyone, more interested in higher vibration conversation and food, and more open to friendliness. He or she will likely meditate daily and hold a routine that provides physical and energetic release in many forms. The individual may even dabble with tantric sex with his or her partner. This person will somehow just know things and want to work in service of others or in a healing-related profession. Will I have special abilities once my Kundalini is awakened? To make a long story short, yes, you will. However, it's not about these special abilities. Awakening is about a lifelong mission of connecting with divinity, and these abilities further the cause. Make sure that you have your eyes on the real prize when you ask questions like this. If you need a hard and fast answer, check out the final chapter of this book. How long will this process take? The process of awakening can take anywhere from a few weeks to several years. Everyone is different. Everyone comes at the experience at a different time in their lives, carrying different sets of pain from this lifetime, ancestral burdens, and chakra blockages because of them both. There is no right or wrong amount of time, and there is no one right answer, either. It will take as long as it takes, and no longer. How do I know if I'm doing something wrong? It's relatively hard to do something wrong other than completely forcing the process of awakening or Kundalini rising. However, if you need to troubleshoot your experience, you can check out Chapter 4, and if you need some stronger advice, I have just what you need. Basically, you'll know if something's wrong for you because it won't feel right. The more you strengthen your intuition, the more you'll have a better sense of what's in alignment with your goals and what's harming your vibration. Furthermore, the more in touch you become with your guardians and spirit guides, the more you'll be able to use their support for advice for questions like this. Other than meditation and yoga, what can I do to help the process along? I would honestly recommend just taking things as they come. Try to read as much as possible. Meditate daily and practice yoga. Add new techniques into the mix over time. Check out the next chapter for some details on how to do exactly that. As always, try to take a step back if you're consciously trying to rush things. Does Kundalini awakening help with ADHD and other disorders? Absolutely. Sometimes, people with ADHD often suffer from chakra imbalances that don't correlate well. For instance, someone's mind is completely out of alignment with their heart or voice or solar plexus. For these people, standard medicine does not really help or cure the overall problem. Kundalini awakening won't either, but it will get to the root of those chakra issues and help to resolve certain things from that perspective. Energetic or mood disorders are often helped by Kundalini awakening, although in varying degrees. If you find that you're working toward Kundalini awakening and your mental chatter becomes unbearable no matter what you try, you may not be able to combine awakening and your disorder well at all. In that case, don't force yourself to continue. Try doing things another way, and if that still doesn't feel good, leave the Kundalini awakening for someone else instead. Chapter 2, Kundalini 101. Now that you understand some of the basic information about your Kundalini, what it is, and how it works in your body, it's time to get into the details. This chapter will go through 10 specific benefits to Kundalini awakening, 10 myths about the Kundalini and awakening, and 21 signs to notice and appreciate your own awakening as it takes place. Be prepared to be blown away. 10 Benefits to awakening. As we go over these 10 benefits to Kundalini awakening, it is important to keep in mind that these wonderful effects are surely impressive, but to focus on them as your only goals in awakening detracts from the full experience that's possible for you to have. Take in each benefit and be grateful for its potential, but don't get too caught up in the me mentality that is so closely connected with ego. Be grateful and glad for yourself and others that these changes are now possible for you, and then your approach will be aligned with your highest intention. Increased intelligence and IQ capacity. As you begin your process of awakening, your mind will become clearer, and your mental capacities will become deepened and enriched in potential. You'll be able to multitask and organize better than ever, and you may even see that your IQ number literally rises as your Kundalini starts moving within. As Shakti energy flips and rolls through your chakras, it will reach your third eye and crown chakra, unlocking these mental capacities just as easily as it works on your heart and healing. Greater sense of peace, bliss, and tranquility. One of the most commonly experienced benefits of Kundalini awakening includes an increased sense of peace, bliss, tranquility, and trust in the universe that you're exactly where you should be. Chalk it up to the meditation or the yoga or even the being in nature, but it's also true that when your Kundalini awakening begins and becomes sustained, you will be able to find a deep and lasting peace even in moments outside of nature or meditation. You will begin noticing how that peace exists in an inner space that you carry with you always and everywhere. Greater sense of purpose and mission in this lifetime. As Shakti flows through your body, bringing light, insight, and connectivity to your mind, heart, organs, soul, and more, you will begin finding greater experience of synchronicities in your life. Patterns will emerge, and you will begin noticing signs that point you in productive or enlightening directions. Even more, you will find that you're noticing what you're drawn to, what you've always been interested in, and how that can translate to you beginning to live out your purpose and soul mission in this lifetime. As your awakening progresses, you will be more and more confident of the direction and theme of your mission, and by the height of it, you will find that mission in motion. Increased sense perceptions. Most people who undergo Kundalini awakening at some point realize that their senses have been heightened. From smell to taste, hearing, touch, sight, and even the sixth psychic sense, the senses of the individual blossom and become honed like the edge of a knife's blade. You may find that one or two senses become heightened while the rest remain the same, and you may even find that some of your senses are dulled for a week or so while the others are heightened in their place. No matter how it happens for you, don't be alarmed or overwhelmed. You will either adjust or your senses will come to balance eventually. Anti-aging capacity in the mind and body. Some of the benefits that come along with Kundalini awakening involve physical anti-aging manifestations, such as feeling stronger and more attractive, actually having stronger and healthier skin and hair, experiencing increased autophagy, and experiencing a generally slowed down aging process. For the mind, too, Kundalini awakening keeps you young, spry, and able to handle anything. It can even slow down or reverse the effects of degenerative brain disorders. Better connection to divinity, God, the goddess, the light, etc. As you continue on with the process of Kundalini awakening, even if you begin as a staunch atheist, you can still find yourself questioning yourself and those beliefs for the incredible and connective, spiritual experiences that are possible through Kundalini awakening are hard to take in without beginning to believe in something bigger than yourself. For those who think their faith is the one TME faith, they may find their certainty wavering and opened up into something new and different through their experiences of Kundalini awakened, but I promise, it will hardly an uncomfortable adjustment. Increased capacity for sexual pleasure, gateway to tantric sex. As the Kundalini and Shakti energy start flowing in your body without blockage, you may find that your capacity for sexual pleasure is totally altered. It might sound crazy and unconnected to the Kundalini and its rising, but remember what the Kundalini rises through your chakras, and that base chakra is all about sexuality, security, protection, and safety. Eventually, as that root chakra gets opened and cleansed and the Kundalini starts to rise, you have the possibility to experience more intense orgasms, and your orgasms may even occur spontaneously, as one of the side effects of awakening. You will come to learn how to control and focus this orgasmic creation energy, and part of that focus can translate it into a whole new world, tantric sex. Kundalini awakening and tantric sex go hand in hand, for the higher vibration awareness required for one is intimately connected with the other. Increased psychic abilities along with those increased sense perceptions for your basic 5 senses, your 6th sense will get a kick in its pants, too. You stand the chance to experience psychic awakening on a number of levels as you advance through your Kundalini awakening. Whether your gifts are numerous or singular, they will be life-altering. You may receive or unlock the ability to see visions, to see signs or future events, to know things before they happen, to move things without touching them, to attract things into your life, to see or hear others' thoughts and feelings, to heal others without touching them, to know what people need, and more. Moreover, remember that if you don't end up experiencing any psychic abilities or their increase, it could be because your higher self knows you're not ready to use them correctly or for the purest means. Reconsider your motivations and proceed with that insight in mind. Greater sense of 00NE's manifestation capacity. The law of attraction is one of the 12 universal laws that define the nature of our physical reality. What we put out into the universe comes back to us. Even without Kundalini awakening, all humans retain this capacity to alter their worlds and draw into their lives exactly what they may need. However, with the Kundalini awakened or in the process of flowing, one's abilities to attract what one needs and to manifest one's goals and desires will become heightened. This will warrant an increased responsibility and sensibility on behalf of the individual in question, as the saying from Spider-Man is true, with great power comes great responsibility. Physical relief from certain illnesses and diseases. Many individuals suffering from chronic illnesses or struggling through exhausting diseases will find relief from these woes during their process of Kundalini awakening. Due to all the anti-aging and pain-relieving physical effects that Kundalini awakening can afford, these people are clearly warranted to receive relief in this way. For those with cancer, life-threatening illnesses, AUT0 immune disorders, and more, it could be that the process of Kundalini awakening will give you that boost of relief that you've been craving. 10 Myths about Kundalini and its awakening. There are a lot of myths floating around about what Kundalini is, how it gets awakened, and what its awakening can look like. There are especially a lot of negative myths, but Kundalini awakening is a practice that's existed for millennia, and its approach can exist in multiple different incarnations. It can mean a bad experience for someone who approaches his or her awakening with impure goals in mind, but it still means such a positive experience for so many others that it's helpful to tease out what's fact and what's fiction before moving forward unknowingly, with inaccurate assumptions. W.V. Heil. It's certainly true that no one way to awakening is the right way. This section will surely help you to spot out some of the veins of thinking about Kundalini that are not worth your concern. Kundalini awakening is dangerous, and the energy released is frightening. Kundalini awakening is far from dangerous. For those who don't understand the process, it may seem bizarre that some people have outbursts during meditation or experience muscle spasms or spontaneous crying. It may seem unhealthy that people are changing their diet to something radically different than they've eaten their entire lives. It may seem shocking to some that people are establishing better connections to the divine. However it may seem, Kundalini awakening is safe and productive, and the energy released is far from frightening. It's healthy, natural, and enlightened. Kundalini awakening is tied to one specific religion, or it's a cult. While Kundalini comes from the Sanskrit and takes its linguistic origin from ancient India, there is no specific religion attached to Kundalini awakening. The process of Kundalini awakening was started by Yogi Bhajan and his practice of Kundalini yoga. Even that practice of yoga was a more secular appreciation of divinity and one's connection to the powers of the universe and of creation itself. Kundalini does not connect with any cult or religious dogma. It's simply something that exists within you in relation to source energy, and it can be awakened if you like, hence the purpose of this text. You will have to wear a headpiece constantly once your Kundalini is awakened. Some believe that your awakened state makes you more sensitive, warranting the covering of one's head to protect the crown and third eye chakras, the aura, and the brain. Whether the headpiece is a turban, a scarf, a bandana, or otherwise, these individuals think you just need some sort of covering. However, there is no evidence that this headpiece and its use in covering the head actually help in protecting one's energetic state. Kundalini and Shakti energy will not be able to escape through the top of your skull and seep out your scalp, so there really is no point for concern on this issue. Kundalini awakening all goes back to sex. While Kundalini awakening obviously has correlations with sex, sexual health, and sexual awakening, it absolutely does not have to deal with such themes. Sometimes, Kundalini awakening will enable one to heal from traumas caused by these themes and actions in one's life, and the farthest thing from this individual's mind will be to incorporate sex again as quickly as possible. Thankfully, Kundalini awakening would never rush or force something like that. As with all types of healing, sex can be incorporated when and if you're ready, and not before that point. Your relationship with your friends and your family will suffer after you're awakened. While you may develop different interests from your family, causing you to want to spend your time differently than they do, your connections with these people never have to suffer because of your awakening process. In fact, your patience with them and understanding of them should only increase, aiding your relationship. If you find yourself having less and less time or patience for these people, you might need to reconsider what role you want them to play in your life or what role you actually want to play in theirs. In your case, it could be that Kundalini is reminding you that family is more than just blood, and you don't have to settle for those who traumatize and abuse you. Essentially, your relationship will only suffer when your higher self is ready for it to be over. Kundalini awakening is all about breathing and meditation, it's not physical at all. Kundalini awakening was originally tied explicitly to the practice of Kundalini yoga. In those times, it was always already connected between physical and spiritual, movement and breath, and yoga and meditation. Therefore, even today, Kundalini awakening should not be just one of these extremes. It should never be just yoga or just meditation. It should never be just nature walks or meditations outdoors. Kundalini awakening should always incorporate both so that the mind, body, and soul, all three pans of the individual, can be awakened together, leaving no pan behind and leaving nothing forgotten. You can only experience Kundalini awakening if you are led by a guru. This myth was propagated by the creator of Kundalini Yoga, Yogi Bhajan, and it makes sense why he would establish it. In his time, no one was practicing Kundalini awakening on a wide scale. People didn't have immediate information from the spread of the internet either. It was the 1960s, and people actually needed a guide so that they didn't feel crazy or get something big wrong. These days, this earnest and productive sentiment on Yogi Bhajan's behalf has much less use for us. With the onset of the internet and the abilities we have to teach one another from this information, you can comfortably teach yourself to meditate and guide yourself through Kundalini awakening with hardly so much as a word of input from another person. Only certain people can have this awakening happen because it's so difficult. For starters, it's a misconception to think that Kundalini awakening is a difficult endeavor. It's not actually hard at all, it's just that Kundalini awakening requires steadfastness, commitment, determination, and focus. These traits are simply harder for some to come by than others, but even if they're not naturally in your wheelhouse, Kundalini awakening will help you adapt and incorporate them into your practice so that things become easier by the breath. Now, to the overall myth, I repeat, anyone can experience Kundalini awakening. It's not that it's difficult, and it's not only for certain people. Anyone can handle the awakening, and it just depends on whether or not you're ready and able to withstand the entire experience. If you're having trouble, don't think that it won't work for you. Instead, look to your wounds, your traumas, and your scars. Consider going to a therapist at least once and then attempt the awakening again. It may be that you need to work something else out in a big way before you can work upwards, so to speak. The only way to awaken your Kundalini is to have Reiki done for you. While it may seem that Reiki and Kundalini awakening are explicitly tied to one another, they absolutely are not. You can awaken your Kundalini without having anything to do with Reiki. You can do Reiki for years without ever doing a Kundalini awakening, too. It's more so that Kundalini awakening and Reiki healing overlap well than that they need to be used together. If you're having a lot of trouble with your awakening, you might try having Reiki done in order to tell where your chakras blockages are and how problematic those flow issues are for your goals. However, there's no need to combine these practices at all, and you can absolutely awaken your Kundalini without having Reiki done to for you. You'll get superhuman powers with Kundalini awakening. No, Kundalini awakening won't turn you into a superhero. It won't make you superhuman, either. If you consider psychic gifts and developments superhuman abilities, though, you might want to reconsider your phrasing. It is true that Kundalini awakening can unlock your psychic gifts. However, psychic abilities aren't as extraordinary for humans to possess as we might imagine. Originally, humans had as many senses as we have chakras, which is actually 22, but we became blind, deaf, and dumb, so to speak, after a fall from grace. Now, we hardly even have enough senses as we have chakras in the BCO, 7. The original 22 senses were all psychic, and any ability one has to reconnect with the 17 lost senses is an extraordinarily natural ability. Indeed, 21 signs of Kundalini awakening. As you begin the process of Kundalini awakening, it will immensely helpful to be aware that many things will happen to you, some of them wild, but what's happening to you does not mean that you're crazy. In fact, it likely means that you're exactly in line with where you should be in the process. In this section, you'll be introduced to over 20 signs or symptoms of your ongoing awakening. They're sure to test your ability to take your ego and pride out of your practice and focus on what good you can share with the world instead, because what you're in for is truly, undeniably incredible. Feelings of lightning bolts in the body. You can tell you're well on your way to full-fledged awakening when you start feeling tingling sensations ranging from vibrations to lightning bolts in your body. It's a strange experience, but it won't last forever, and I promise you, it's a good sign. Waves of hot and cold flashes. As you're on your way to Kundalini awakening, you may experience extreme hot and cold flashes, reminiscent of a woman going through menopause. These flashes won't be isolated to any one area of the body. You may be able to find a pattern in their waves, but they could also be totally random. Spontaneous emotional release during meditation, whether it's anger, crying, laughter, sadness, joy, or otherwise, any strange and strong emotions that arise during meditation are surefire signs that your awakening is well underway. The rising Kundalini is helping you process emotional blockages to your system with this effort. Making animal sounds or gestures during meditation. Similarly, you may find that you experience intense moments of what can only be described as animal expression in meditation. Again, your Kundalini is working on helping you process and clear energetic blockages, and that work is often best done through animal spirits and expressions. Hands, limbs, and feet tend to go numb and tingle as the Kundalini and Shakti energy of awakening start to rewire how things are working in your heart chakra. Your physical heart may be occasionally affected. Don't be worried if you experience your hands, limbs, or feet falling asleep more than usual. It's absolutely normal for your condition. Increased desire to visit ancient and sacred places. If you experience more and more powerful strong urges to go travel the world and see those famous ancient, sacred sites, don't question those drives. They're undoubtedly connected to your process of awakening, and you should follow up on them as much as you are able. Frequent sensory overload. At the beginning, if you've been working with Kundalini and Shakti energy for a while and you're not sure you're seeing effects, look to your senses. Have you been overwhelmed or overloaded easily recently? Have you been more sensitive than normal? Chances are that these emotional side effects are related to your senses and are therefore inspired by your awakening. Spontaneous waves of bliss or even pleasure. It could be that Kundalini awakening has the reputation of being all about sex because of this symptom or sign of the process. It is true that some people can experience spontaneous waves of ecstasy or tranquil bliss. It doesn't happen often, but some people can also spontaneously orgasm, based on how their chakra blockages are being cleared and how the serpent is moving. It's incredible, but it's definitely a sign of awakening. Periods of extremely heightened creativity. Especially as you stand to work through blockages of the sacral chakra, you'll begin to have extremely creative periods, and these moments are absolutely proof of awakening. Even if those periods don't last very long or aren't sustained over time, they'll allow you to make creative works that help boost your awakening endurance overall. Mouth fills up with water during meditation. You may find that your mouth keeps filling up with water during your practice of meditation. Don't go to the doctor wondering what's wrong with your body. It's just a side effect of the Kundalini's movement through your system, and it's absolutely a good sign. Spontaneous singing of old songs you haven't heard, or practicing of ancient yogic techniques you've never even tried. Part of what happens during Kundalini awakening is that one finds connections to his or her past lives, and sometimes, one will find that old techniques of the trade for awakening will surface for him or her in meditation that this person could never have known beforehand. Feeling intense headaches during meditation that resolve themselves easily. If you do experience intense headaches during meditation, try not to take pain relief medicine for them. Try to write out the meditation, and if the headache resolves itself at the end, then it's for sure that you're working out third eye or crown chakra blockages and your Kundalini awakening is almost fully in effect. Receiving visions of skeletons or ancestors during meditation. Some of the more spoken about side effects or signs of awakening include the ability to see the dead, one's ancestors, or skeletons. Some people make their entire focus during awakening to have this ability, but it should not be so. If you experience these visions, simply know you're on the right path and do not be afraid. The ways you can use this ability will be revealed to you in time. For now, stay grounded and don't let yourself get too scared or excited. Frequent mood swings in day-to-day life. You may find that you're more sensitive than normal, especially emotionally. If your mood swings are more extreme and intense than you're used to, take it easy on others and yourself. It's all a part of awakening, and it will definitely resolve itself in time. Hearing sounds, like music, that no one else hears. As your past life and ancestral memories become unlocked, you might find yourself tapping into sound memories that no one else can perceive. As you receive messages about yoga, meditation, and spirituality through meditation, these tones may accompany the knowledge, but it's all just a pan of ascension. Don't go running to the doctor or your therapist quite yet, and don't be afraid. Receiving spontaneous waves of wisdom, insight, or knowledge. The more and more aligned your chakras become and the more freely this energy serpent moves, the more synchronicities you'll receive in daily life and the more often you'll experience these beautiful little moments of intense clarity and insight. These epiphanies will happen with increasing frequency through your awakening. Seeing visions from the past. You may find yourself going on deep and convincingly real walks through memory lane during awakening, and you may also receive literal visions into your past lives, those selves, and their behaviors. Don't be alarmed. Your Kundalini is guiding you through the information you need to receive to reach full awakening. Feelings of deep and unshakable purity. As you shed toxicity and layers of din from your chakras, you'll find that you feel increasingly pure and connected to all aspects of divinity. It may sound strange to you now, but divine purity is not something to scoff at. It's a state of mind that's blissful, trusting, faithful, and absolutely growth-oriented. Diseases start to become healed. While it's true that some signs of awakening include the lessening of physical symptoms of disease and illness, it can also be the case that one's diseases and illnesses begin to become literally healed in this process. Personality quirks are lessened and smoothed out. Many people end up working out personality kinks when their kundalinis are awakened. Surely, when it comes to the chakras, blockages can manifest as problematic or negative personality traits, so when that awakening process starts up and becomes fully activated, the personality will become like a canvas or like clay that is ready to be painted on or sculpted to the will of divinity. Increased artistic inspiration from nature and others. Especially if you're an artist who's gone through a dry spell in terms of creative motivation for a long while, it will be a clear sign of awakening when you find more and more inspiration from the natural and day-to-day. It doesn't even have to be explicitly from nature, for during the process of awakening, it could be that general interpersonal interactions or the movement of cars or public transportation are enough to inspire you now. Chapter 3, Kundalini Awakening. This chapter is dedicated to those readers who are ready to work directly on Kundalini Awakening. In the subsequent pages, you will find 29 techniques to help your Kundalini Awakening along, and the chapter ends with 6 additional methods that you can try to boost your experience. Whether you felt Kundalini Awakening before or you just learned about it for the first time through this book, the tips included in this chapter are guaranteed to provide substance, depth, and insight into your experiences as you proceed. Point 29. Awakening techniques ranging from meditation techniques to interpersonal tips and simple world navigation tactics. The options provided in this section will help you move past simple knowledge of Kundalini and awakening to the place where knowledge can be put into practice. Gather your yoga mat, your incense, and your mind, for things are about to get amplified. Apply Kundalini Yoga to your practice. The more that you're able to do so, adding physical layers to your meditative practice will be incredibly beneficial. Kundalini Yoga is the best place to stand, especially if you're working on Kundalini awakening in particular, rather than just awareness or chakra balancing. Kundalini Yoga will help you work through those chakra blockages and get the Kundalini going while boosting your meditative practice within the dimension of the moving human body. You'll be surprised how well it all works together once you start amplifying your practice with yoga. Use visualization techniques to increase Shakti movement. Visualization is almost essential to use as a means of increasing Shakti movement throughout your body in the form of your Kundalini. The ancient Indians were on the right page when they gave relatable names to these cosmic wells of energy within us. They understood how powerful metaphor and imagery can be when it comes to the workings of the inner body, and one's subtle energy. For example, as a reminder, Kundalini means little coiled one, the snake of universe or source energy, Shakti, that exists at the base of our spine. We are meant to imagine this snake being charmed and winding its way through our chakras. We are meant to visualize this and many more things. The more visualization you can incorporate into your practice, the better. Use guided meditation techniques to increase Shakti movement. A lot of people need help detaching from the distractions of the mind and the world before they can focus enough to visualize these intricate inner movements. In these cases, I always recommend guided meditation. There are so many ways to help raise your Kundalini based on the techniques people share on online meditation forums and even on sites like YouTube. Audiobooks of guided meditations could also provide the guidance you'll need to be able to shut off that conscious brain and simply, meditatively focus on the Shakti, that pure and potent source energy that wants to move within you. Seek out these guided meditations for Kundalini awakening, and you'll be so grateful you did. Try pulling the Kundalini up from your crown. This technique, in terms of an awakening booster, is a little more detail-oriented than some others. It comes to the way you visualize the Kundalini moving from that spinal source within you to the tip of your crown and back down. Essentially, you'll want to try shifting your focus. If you've been imagining things, as most of us will innately do, as if the serpent has been rising up from your base with that root chakra as your energetic center from which it leaves and to which it eventually returns, switch things up in an impactful yet subtle way. Imagine your crown chakra as your energetic center and see the Kundalini being pulled up through your body, as if drawn by a magnet that rests at the top of your head. Then, once the Kundalini rises to this crown point, imagine that you pull the magnet away and let the serpent fall down back to its opposite end before returning with the magnet replaced. Remember that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, as many have said elsewhere. Your crown chakra holds your purest potential, and Shakti energy responds well to that once you reclaim it as your energetic source. Change your mindset. There are a few unintentional roadblocks that tend to come up for many Kundalini practitioners. Mainly, you'll want to perform a couple of checks to ensure that your mindset is as aligned with Kundalini awakening as possible. Reject as many sources of negativity in your life as you can. If you can't get rid of them, try to face them and call them out, or you could just outright ignore them. On a personal level, too, you can work to change negativity into its opposite extreme of expression when it comes to your personality traits, your routines, habits, and more. Furthermore, the less attachment you have to material things and patterns, the more open you become to the changes awakening has in store for you. Overall, therefore, reject, and possibly counteract, negativity and attachment, and you will surely flourish. As a general note, if this method doesn't work for you, don't force yourself to attempt it, especially if it creates toxic effects for you. In that case, you may have a blockage of third eye or crown chakra that needs to be worked through before full awakening can be achieved. Play the observer. Do you often find yourself as the center of attention, in more than just a team sport member or theater troupe member way? Do you generally crave that type of support and public awareness? Now comes the trickier part. When you are the center of attention, do you notice things better or worse? Do you take in the whole picture, or do you get tunnel vision for only what you're doing, and perhaps what the viewer takes in? I'd be willing to venture a guess that you aren't fully aware of what's going on, particularly in your surroundings, at times when you fill that public position. Maybe a little more time spent playing the observer instead would help you. For people who resonate with the message behind this point, try to be a little more subtle in public settings. See who rises up instead and then just listen to what they have to say. Interrupt your needs and urges in this way, and your Kundalini will realize what a powerful energetic shift you're instigating, responding to its own way in kind. Find a teacher, supporter, guru, or mentor if you are ready to do so and are able. Begin to approach the idea of meeting and partnering up with a teacher. Whether you consider them a strong and smart supporter, a mentor, a patron, a teacher, a guru, or otherwise, simply begin to consider the possibility of a person like this entering your life. As you continue practicing meditation, yoga, and the rest of your Kundalini rising techniques, you'll likely find that your vibration attracts exactly that which you desire. Now, this attraction effort will involve a bit of action on your part to keep the vibration going, but the actions involved are easier than they sound. Essentially, it's this: if you get any hunches in this process, follow them. If you think you ought to talk to this new person in particular, trust yourself and go for it. If you want to try eating at a different restaurant, go there and be open to what happens. You can find your teacher in the places you'd least expect. Just remain open for experiences, conversations, encounters, and situations that will change your world. Sometimes, just living out that openness is action enough. Use chanting and kirtan. Some more traditional elements of Kundalini awakening involve the combination of mind and body through chanting and singing. This mind-body alignment is not only already incredibly productive for Shakti energies flow through your system, but also, this combination, in particular, with its focus being expressed through vocalization, will really help those practitioners struggling with throat chakra blockages. Spontaneous chanting is a symptom or sign of Kundalini awakening, too, so maybe a bit of practicing will help you get there. To start, try chanting your mantra or your vision of either exactly what you want to happen with your Kundalini awakening or your detailed happy place. If you follow a religious devotion, you could try a prayer to your god or goddess. If you don't mind which religion you follow and you simply want to get involved with some sort of active divinity, seek out a local kirtan. Kirtan is a gathering where songs of Sanskrit prayer are sung about many different gods and goddesses. Interestingly enough, kirtan means basically narrating or telling, while bhajan, the name of the yogi who brought Kundalini yoga to the West, means sharing in a similar context as kirtan, with particular emphasis through song. I'm sure this is not completely coincidence. Do things that make you truly happy. Think back to the time when you were a kid. Put yourself in that mental and emotional space. What did you do for fun? What did you like to daydream about? Go back to memories before puberty. What unrealistic and absolutely fantastical goals did you have? What did you think you'd want to be, and can you remember why you felt that way? Put yourself in that space. Remember what you did to feel truly happy. Now, think of today. Is there any equivalent to that thing that made you so happy from your past that lingers today? Do you still strive to live out those goals and to be happy those same ways? Or have you given up on those feelings for any number of reasons? Now's the time to think a little. Even if you don't have those dreams anymore, think of what they meant to you. Think of what they could have really meant in terms of your bigger picture. For instance, one child's unrealistic goals of being a tree climber for a future career could transform into her future needs to be outside often. The goal in this case is to align your life with those innocent and unrealistic dreams, however it is humanly possible for you to do so. Connect with that deep and lasting childlike happiness, and your Kundalini will surely respond. Practice saying yes, especially for those who have trouble going with the flow. This practice of saying yes as often as possible may actually jolt their Kundalinis into action. If you relate to the previous statement, it's likely because you do attempt to hold too tightly to control in your life, so you'll need a little help going with the flow. The most Kundalini applicable reason that this could be the case is that your solar plexus chakra is blocked, imbalanced, or spinning in the wrong direction. To those readers that need to hear this, say yes more often, you deserve it. Give yourself a break and go with the experiences and possibilities that present themselves to you, rather than the ones you cling to or pull desperately your way. Get loose. Say yes, and go with the flow. Kundalini will know what to do. Practice saying no. Similar to the last point but decidedly different, some people are too easygoing and can't help but get caught up in the flow. In these cases, the individual might feel like their greatest fears revolve around not being able to say no when it really matters. Therefore, the technique for individuals who relate to this message would to practice saying no anytime you'd normally be pushed over, for the sake of the phrase's appropriateness. If people like to turn responsibilities over to you, say no as if you aren't going to lose anything. Turn down dates to have nights in. Turn down hangouts to give some self-love instead. Every time you say no, though, remember that you're doing this to regain strength and boost your soul. Don't let that solar plexus chakra remain imbalanced. Say no and that blockage will start to disappear. Use music therapy. A more physician-approved technique for psychological and soulful awakening of any kind would be music therapy, but I don't mean that you have to book a doctor's appointment today. I simply mean that you can find music that supports your goals and listen to it as much as possible. Look for artists who support your causes and check out their music. Look for songs that talk about what you want to manifest in your life. Look for tunes that remind you of being a kid. You can direct your search in a multitude of ways, and you can even find full albums of Kundalini awakening meditation music on YouTube. If you're not into the words and tunes of others, you can create your own songs to process anything you might be going through, that could also be blocking your chakras, to take possession of this music therapy experience and give it your full bodily endorsement. Use music however you need to, and if you have any spontaneous hot or cold flashes, emotional outbursts, or laughing bursts, you'll know you're on the right path. Use sound therapy. Similarly, you could try using just one tone at a time to guide your meditation if the busyness of music gets distracting because of how sensitive you are. Some of us can't handle music when we're meditating. It's too distracting to start off with. Some of us can't handle words of any kind happening when we're meditating either. Of course, some people don't have these struggles, but others cannot escape them. Even people who don't necessarily need to simplify found more sound therapy can work incredible wonders. As I was saying at the start of this point, you can try using just one tone at a time to boost your meditation or yoga. You can chant words at the pitch of the chakra you're working on, or you could just say Om again and again at the same pitch. You could even take your voice out of it and play one note repeated, whether through YouTube, a musical instrument, or otherwise. See what these tones do for you, for it might be just the trick. Use art therapy instead of using music or sound. Maybe art is your thing. You could always try going to a few local art museums and just wander around to see what triggers something in you. Or you could pull up some art on your phone or your laptop to see what helps you feel inspired again. Differently, you could also get back into creating your own. I know you have it in you, no matter how deeply you've buried it. In addition, just because people say it's art doesn't mean what you make has to be good by their standards. Just create something. You'll be so glad you did, and even if you're not glad and you end up hating it, even in the act of destroying what you've made, you might find some inner satisfaction that triggers our slithery spirit friend, the Kundalini. Use color therapy. Do you remember what color really is? Do you remember being taught in science class when you were young about how color is just different wavelengths of light being bounced off things and perceived by our limited human eyes? Do you remember all that? If not, take it in because I can almost guarantee you've never thought about what all this really means. Certain colors will then have wavelengths and vibrations that heal things within us, sometimes even without us knowing. Each chakra has a color, and the wearing of that color is supposed to help cleanse or open that chakra, but did you ever think of the other implications? Sure, colors associate with chakras, but they also can just affect us in terms of healing that we may not be able to perceive. Colors have healing capacity that's so subtle and so intrinsic to our daily lives that we hardly even notice. Getting back in touch with subtle energy and color healing will undoubtedly help you connect with your Kundalini and instigate its rise. Spend less time on screens. It may sound basic and unnecessary, but you still need to hear it. The less time you spend on technology, the better. Especially as you begin opening up and experiencing Kundalini awakening, you will become very sensitive, even more so than you normally are. It's like a vicious cycle because that sensitivity has dire implications for your awakening goals, too. You might become triggered into lower states of being by the news or social media feeds. You might be distracted too much from your higher purpose by scrolling on social media all day. You might be too jam-packed with the vibrations of your technological devices that you can't find your own in the haze. The basic gist is this: the less technology you rely on, the more your vibration is yours and the clearer your focus will be. With less screen time, the more you're clean. Change up your social media feed. I know it's hard to fully detach from social media. It's really hard for some in comparison with others, and it's particularly true for those individuals that I provide this recommendation to. Instead of cutting out social media completely, I challenge you to complete these steps. First, choose just one form of social media that you can use to get a bit of everything you might need, i.e., spiritual information, family contact, friend contact, self-expression, community boost, business boost, etc., and cut out all the others. Second, on this social media, cut down your posts drastically each week. Third, change up your social media feed by cleaning up your friends list, the hashtags you follow, and the pages you like. Remember that you can attract spiritual information through social media, too, you just have to work for it. With these 3 actions taking place, you've made some powerful steps in the right direction, and if things don't drastically change for you within after 2 weeks, I'll be extremely surprised. Trust in the universe, in felicity and in synchronicity. It's going to be hard at first, especially if you've never practiced this type of radical trust before, but you're going to have to put some faith in the workings of the world around you. You can do a lot for yourself for the sake of healing and growth, and others can teach you a lot as well, but the world and what's bigger can teach you more than you can ever imagine. Look up the term felicity, then look up the term synchronicity. Now, look up serendipity. Stand looking for these experiences in your life, and they'll surely appear. Furthermore, start keeping a journal of the synchronicities you experience, and I almost guarantee that you'll be making concrete life changes and trusting in the universe in no time. Every sign is a lesson, and every interaction, everything you see, can be a sign. Open your eyes and relearn how to trust, and Kundalini will know what to do. Pay closer attention to your breathing as you begin meditating and eventually come to incorporate it into your daily practice. You'll start noticing your breathing more than ever. You'll notice when you hold it unintentionally, when you hyperventilate or are triggered, when you are invited to breathe calmly, when you have the greatest smelling capacity, and more. With this breathing awareness, your Kundalini can't help but respond. What you can do to help along the process is to try to meditate daily, and when you do meditate, breathe deep into your belly. Furthermore, if you can visualize at all, try to visualize that each breath strokes the back of a small serpent that's sleeping in the pit of your stomach. Imagine that the breath meets the serpent as if you were petting a cat that curled up in the window. With this increasingly close attention on your breathing, your health will improve, and you will only become more and more aligned with awakening. Pay closer attention to your posture. If you envision the path the Kundalini serpent will follow, you can see that, if you're standing or sitting up straight, it goes up from the root chakra to the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and then finally the crown before going back down and repeating its flow as it can. Now, envision what happens to the flow when you hunch over and curl into the fetal position. The line from chakra to chakra becomes a curve almost like a semicircle. In this case, the serpent's path is less predictable and more difficult overall. You can help the Kundalini, in this case, by watching your posture as much as possible. Try to sit up and stand up straight whenever possible. Don't crunch your solar plexus chakra and don't tuck in your root chakra if you can help it. Moreover, if you have trouble with straight posture, think of what chakras could be blocked and limiting you. Think of what traumas could be standing in your way. Regardless of what you learn, your posture can teach you a lot on your path to Kundalini awakening. Try tapping into the chakra channel in your daily meditation. Try this technique specifically. You can boost the technique with visualization, but you don't have to, for it can be just as effective if you just imagine what's happening, remember your goals, and let your body do the rest. Essentially, you'll close your eyes with the meditation and begin to focus your energy into the root chakra. Breathe into your belly and sense that root chakra until you can feel a vibration there. Then, begin to chant your mantra or simply chant Om over and over again. With each repetition, feel the vibration of the next higher chakra as the root energy moves into the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and finally the crown. Once you reach the crown, the whole chakra channel inside you should be vibrating with energy, and your Kundalini will surely see this open and cleared space as if it was a potential playground to explore. Practice seeing proof of divinity in everything instead of closing yourself off, getting angry at everything, or shutting down when you get upset. Try to reshape the way you look at the world. You can try to remind yourself that even when things get intense, it's just a moment when divinity decided to test you, providing an experience for you to get stronger if you tap into it correctly and adequately. You can easily see the good times as proof of divinity, and positive signs are the same. Bad times and negative times, though, are harder, and that's the real challenge. With practice, you'll be able to see the proof of divinity in every experience, challenge, advantage, situation, and exchange, and I hope it will bring you both glee and lasting inspiration. I know, at least, it will do that much for your Kundalini, as long as your feelings and connections with divinity aren't forced just to get to awakening. Connect with your spirit guides, whether your spirit guides are real people, living or dead, who were sainted or who invented incredible things, or your spirit guides are your ancestors or other literal spirits. You can try getting in touch with them, spiritually or literally, for help in relation to your Kundalini awakening. Asking for help is never something to be ashamed of, especially when it comes to something as complex and life-altering as Kundalini awakening. Reach out to your guides for advice. Let them know the situation you're in and what you're hoping for. Let them know what you're working through and what you're working on. If you don't know who your spirit guides are yet, it's time to do a little research and begin connecting. Think of the religion you associate with most and look at the saints of that religion. Think of the ancient religion you love and its myths and gods or goddesses. Do some research into the world of spirituality to see if your guides will arise, and when they do, you'll know whom you should direct these important advice-based questions to. Use healing crystals while you're working through subtle and physical energy blockages and flows. Subtle and physical helpers can make the transition into awakening all the easier. Take crystals, for example. These earth minerals, whether raw or polished, each contain a vibration and life essence. When you hold these vibrations around you, especially if you're lacking those vibrations in particular, they can impart healing capacities to you through direct contact with the stone. Hold a healing crystal in your hand, and you may find yourself with increased capacity for patience, love, devotion, trust, or otherwise. For Kundalini awakening, too, this crystal healing potential is great. Crystals of different colors connect to the chakras, and some crystals even have the unique ability to align and cleanse all 7 chakras at once. If you're in need of a booster for your process, I absolutely recommend going the route of crystal healing. It's easy, it's fun, and it can have effects almost instantly. Practice random acts of kindness or paying it forward to get your vibration in line with something Kundalini can work with. You can try paying it forward as selflessly as possible. Practice random acts of kindness and pay it forward whenever you're able to. See what's returned and what hasn't. See what comes back around even after you send it out. By working with this spirit of compassion and sending energy out into the world like a boomerang just waiting for it to return in some fashion, Kundalini and the Shakti that gives it life, will take notice. Soon enough, these practices may become second nature, or they could even manifest material rewards for you closer and closer to the moment of your initial action. Start by sending out whatever generosity and selflessness you can into the universe and then wait to see what returns. If all that returns is insight and knowledge, be sure to feel thankful for that. It didn't have to be anything at all. Working these practices may be difficult as you attempt to live without attachments and harsh expectations, but it will only be difficult if it poses a lesson you need to learn. Meditate to open, cleanse and align the chakras first. It may sound simple, but you can always just start off your day with a chakra meditation to open, cleanse, and align everything as you're able to yourself. Especially, if you're well practiced with meditation and you're comfortable clearing your chakras, this technique may boost you exponentially. From now on, try to stand your day with a shower and a chakra cleanse. As the water hits you, visualize that blockages flow out of each chakra, down to your feet, and out into the water down the drain. Visualize your inner peace and wholeness after this cleansing is complete, and imagine that your chakras have become better aligned with each time you shower. By starting the day in this way, Kundalini will have better motion for the rest of your waking time, and your awakening will be affected drastically. Practice active patience and forgiveness. Sometimes, what holds us back from awakening is the grudge we cling to the fiercest. While it can be true that holding a grudge can remind some people of their power and their potential to determine their reality, grudges, more often than not, are spiritually toxic. They most often correlate to blockages of the heart chakra, and they can be corrected through active and radical expressions of love, patience, and forgiveness. Next time you butt up against your grudges or their related individuals, to the better person. Don't just think of things that way, though, and really live that better person life without the judgment of being actually better or thinking that you are. Reject grudge. Reject anger, jealousy, fear, frustration, and irritation. As you can, just express love, forgiveness, and acceptance despite their harshness, and by rolling with those punches, you will emotionally and spiritually grow. Practice tantric sex with your partner. While Kundalini awakening is not all about sex, some sexual practices are incredibly useful for boosting your Kundalini's rise and increasing your Shakti. Tantric sex, in particular, is one of the healthiest and most productive sexual practices linked with Kundalini awakening. During tantric sex with your partner, you both will try different positions together and engage in mostly the same actions as you normally would. However, the goal of orgasm will be a little different. Tantric sex is about holding sexual positions and holding or redirecting orgasm, pushing endurance to its limits, to use very Western terms about it. You'll enter and hold these positions, building up energy between you two and sending that energy up into your chakras rather than out into each other, so to speak. Your Kundalini is directly involved when actions of this type occur, so its awakening may likely be very closely related to this ancient sexual practice. Try orgasming differently. If you experience frequent orgasm but don't yet understand or wish to practice tantric sex, you can try focusing your orgasm into a different pan of your body in order to instigate awakening. As with the couple practicing tantric sex and coming to orgasm, you'll try to focus your orgasmic energy upwards, through your chakras successively to your crown, rather than down and out through your base. This creative energy is always lost from your body during orgasm when you push that energy down out the root chakra, but if you keep some of that energy for yourself by redirecting it upwards, you will invite the serpent to move with you. 6 Other practices that can help. In addition to those 29 Kundalini boosters, 6 or so more intensive practices can be added to your daily routine to your benefit. Ranging from physical exercise to dietary change and other modes of subtle energy healing, the methods in this section are gateways to apply to your awakening for strengthening, deepening, and intensifying the experience as it stands. Now it all depends on what you feel comfortable with and what you're willing to draw into your life. Start running. One thing you can do is stand running if you're physically able to. Running is great for your lungs, your heart, your bones, your posture, and more. Spiritually, running can connect you with the potential you have to free yourself from restriction, to a certain degree, and to create your own reality. When you're in the practice of running, and things really feel gawk at you, have the sense that you are free to go anywhere your feet can carry you. This feeling evokes pure joy for me, and it helps me resolve feelings of being trapped in the system in other ways. For others, too, running can provide those feelings they're desperately craving while increasing their body's strengths and potentials. Through the practice of running, you should focus your attention on becoming strong, gaining endurance, and increasing the alignment of your body. If you find that you struggle with any of these 3 points despite your shift into running, you may want to eliminate it from your routine. The goal here is to promote overall health, and if you're adding undue stress to your days, it's not really worth it in the long run. Instead of running, these individuals are invited to try bicycling, trail walking, road walking, rollerblading, or any other, less intensive method of getting outside and getting physical. Change your diet. It can be the case that your diet keeps you from following through with awakening. What vibration do the foods that you're eating contain? Have you ever thought to look? Sure, you've thought of calories, fats, carbs, and proteins, but have you thought of the food's actual vibration? If you're trying to awaken the source of subtle yet universal energy inside you, you're going to need some vibrationally powerful food. If you're running into struggles with awakening that either aren't being resolved or that feel like they're leading nowhere, try switching up your diet. Trade out the processed foods for whole foods. Trade out the meats for fruits and vegetables. Once you start eating better foods and drinking better things, your cells will replenish themselves with the nutrients from these healthier substances, which will lead to a better and healthier overall expression of you. It might sound far-fetched, but food has energy just like crystals and herbs do, even more so. When you eat that food, you take on its energy, and if you eat death constantly, you will have a stagnant vibration. Raise your vibration through your food, and Kundalini will be riding those Shakti, world-shattering waves to awakening right along with you. Spend time with nature and meditate there. Don't forget the importance of going outside as you begin this life-changing practice. There will be times when you feel low as you shed what doesn't serve you. There will be times when you feel so full of energy that you could burst. There will be times when you feel like you've been walking in circles with blinders on and just now realizing what's been going on. Kundalini awakening is a strange and bewildering time, and having a solid routine for grounding can be immensely helpful. Throughout your process, never forget the value of going into nature. Nature is an endless reserve of subtle physical healing energies. It's also a wealth of signs that can help you communicate with your guides, your higher self, and your intuition. The physical environment is alive beneath our feet, and it can teach us more about ourselves, and our potential as humans, than we might like to face, but its lessons are so endlessly necessary to hear and to learn. No matter what season it is for you or where you happen to live, city or otherwise, get outside. Dress appropriately and go out to take in the season. Meditate in nature whenever possible and let the visual symbolism of these beautiful spaces guide you and your Kundalini through any difficult work ahead. Live a life of service or try volunteering. Are you really living from the heart? Or are you living from the head or the gut? Are you maybe living from your groin instead? As you work through your chakras blockages into Kundalini awakening, you will be forced to find yourself many times. You will see how your self-expression has been, and has not been, aligned with your overall growth, and you will begin to notice the patterns in your behaviors and personality traits. Eventually, you may even be made to face your inadequacies in terms of love, self-expression, self-control, creativity, survival, spirituality, psychicness, and more. The most intense inadequacy to face, however, especially for those involved with Kundalini awakening, is the inability to love purely and selflessly. For those struggling with this heart chakra blockage, faking it until you make it likely won't work. You'll need a physical anchor for this love to connect with, otherwise, it will never feel genuine for you. In that case, you might try volunteering or switching your job momentarily to work in service of others. By putting yourself in a workplace situation of service, you will be tested, and your abilities to love others selflessly will be strengthened with each breath you take. It could be that your experiences are wholly positive, but it very well may not. Take heart, however, for those harsh experiences are the greatest teachers of all. In time, you will notice how your heart is like a flower that blossoms with every new interaction. You'll know your Kundalini's awakening when what used to cause you the most bitter irritation now evokes nothing but love. Boost your practice with other subtle energy healing techniques. While Kundalini awakening clearly connects you with realms of subtle energy in your life, it can also be greatly boosted by the presence of other subtle energy healing modalities aside from just using healing crystals or being around physical nature. Moreover, of course, once you come to know more and more about subtle energy healing modalities, you can begin to pair them and combine them generally as you see fit. The point is this: as you work through what helps you and what doesn't, you'll realize that your intuition, aka, your connection to your higher self and more, is stronger and more helpful than almost anything else. You will draw to you the healing that you need, even if it just looks like massage or a plant or a teeny pill that dissolves under your tongue. In that case, your practice of Kundalini awakening, or any awakening or ascension, generally, should always be boosted by the application of other subtle energetic modalities, as you see fit. A few options are as follows. First, you could try using flower essences as a modality of subtle energy healing that supports your Kundalini awakening. Flower essences work based on the extracted vibration of one type of flower at a time. Basically, you take, or buy the product created by, a few buds of a particular flower and put them in a clear bowl of water. Then, you set the bowl in the sunshine for 12 hours, either at once or over time, as the sun wills. After that point, you remove the flower buds and bottle the water with a drop or two of brandy as a preservative in each bottle. Voila, you've got flower essences. Now, the fun begins. Just as each person, each color, and each crystal has its own vibration, so does each flower. When the essence of the flower is extracted, to a certain degree, in the flower essence, you can then orally take the remedy, of a few drops of its liquid a few times a day, and work to cure certain ailments that are attached to one's aura or subtle energetic expression. Flower essences can dissolve chakra blockages, too, without you even realizing that's what they're doing. Look up flower essences, for I promise, you'll be fully amazed with the potential. Second, you could seek out Reiki healing in order to remove your chakras blockages and help the Kundalini along. Reiki healing is a traditional Japanese method of energy work that eliminates obstruction and blockage inside the individual, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, or otherwise, through the applied insight and potential power of the practitioner. While Reiki healing is often paired with massage, it doesn't have to be, for it's really just about the potential for the practitioner to dissolve energy blockages within the individual from afar, through the application of the right energetic methods. Reiki healers don't even necessarily have to be next to you to heal you through their methods. By connecting their own Kundalini to Shakti, to their spirit guides, and to the earth, these individuals can receive guidance that blasts open your chakras from states away, paving the way for the serpent to flow within you. Just be sure you know what you're getting yourself into before your first session. Third, you could generally receive massages that aid in blockage release. With or without the addition of Reiki, massages are still an incredible thing. They feel amazing, especially when performed by someone you trust, but they do more than just make your skin and muscles feel good. Massages can also help you become more aware of any blockages you might have, i.e., through where it feels okay to be touched and where it doesn't, through the places the masseuse tends to linger on, through the pains you didn't realize you had, and more, as you work through that chakra opening and clearing process, making way for Kundalini. If you're not comfortable with massage, try just getting a manicure or a pedicure, even if you're a guy. Just be brave, schedule the appointment, and own it. The manicurist or pedicurist will absolutely massage your hands or feet, respectively, and that smaller, focused massage will, through reflexology, affect your overall bodily awareness, and potential for Kundalini awakening, too. In fact, any reflexology, acupuncture, or acupressure would be equally helpful to this extent. Fourth, you could still seek out therapy if you're comfortable doing so. While it doesn't help all people, talking things out can still be immensely helpful for some. Therapy doesn't have to be completely about talk, either. Remember from earlier in this chapter that therapy can be based around art, color, sound, and music, too. If you think that you need to work through something in a bigger way than just your insides can handle, don't be ashamed. Turning to therapy may potentially save your life. It might be daunting to know where to start or how to make the first move. Try art or music therapy first if you can. If you can't afford a personal doctor, create your own therapies. Do whatever you need to in order to get the toxicity out and somehow neutralized, and if that means that you go to a shrink and talk things over, go for it. Kundalini, and your higher self, will be thankful you did. Fifth, you could try using essential oils or herbal healing to get things in gear. These suggestions are correlated through their reliance on the vibrational essences of plants and herbs. Through essential oils, the vibration is extracted and contained in oil vehicles, while the herbs could also be made into flower essences. Through herbal healing, as a whole, however, herbs are simply appreciated for the subtle energies they contain and the healing they can impart. Essential oils can vary in rarity and availability, but herbs themselves can sometimes be extracted from your own backyard. If you're in a rush these days, however, you can always buy online. Make sure that you're buying essential oils that are perfectly in line with your goals, but you can also make things purposefully ritualistic and low-tech. If you'd rather the in-person, low-tech method, go out in nature yourself and forage for plants with a guide. Abe K. If you're drawn to a plant without knowing what it is, look it up and take notes. You may find that your guides, or your intuition, have been leading you to the ideal cure for so long without you even knowing it. Whether you use the essential oil, the bought plant, or the foraged herb, Kundalini will be grateful and respond in kind. 6th, you could try decalcifying your pineal gland and reprogramming your energy through sun gazing. Sun gazing requires you to be present for sunrise and sunset each day. The gist is this: you stand barefoot in the rays of the sun as it rises and sets, looking toward the sun, soaking in its life-giving energy, and learning to feel full of its potential. Then, you tie this practice in with intermittent or spontaneous fasting to get the whole experience of feeling connected to the earth in completely new ways. Sun gazing supposedly has anti-aging, anti-hunger, and anti-illness benefits that are almost unmatched by modern medicine, and you'd better believe that sun gazing will affect Kundalini's movement, too. Wake up with the sun and breathe in its rays deeply. If you don't feel Kundalini stir up some Shakti after just a week, I'll be completely flabbergasted. 7th and finally, you could try homeopathic remedies to work through what's causing those chakra blockages within you in the first place. While modern medicine and pharmaceutical cures operate off of allopathic healing, things different from the problem cure the problem principles, subtle energy cures lead us to investigate the older practice of homeopathy, like cures like, instead. Homeopathy sometimes gets a bad reputation but is much more worth one's effort than you might imagine. Homeopathic remedies are constructed from the vibrational essences of plants, minerals, and animals to the point of mitigating the debilitating circumstances or illnesses. Instead of assuming, like modern medicine does, that you can only heal something by administering a cure devised separately, homeopathy assumes that poisons, in very small doses, can actually heal greater ailments. It's worth writing a whole book on the subject, but for now, it will suffice to say that you should look into homeopathy if you're intrigued by this point. It could be that the trigger for your Kundalini awakening is a teeny homeopathy pill you'll let dissolve under your tongue, and the greatest thing is that if you take a homeopathic cure that your body doesn't actually need, it won't do anything to you at all. Essentially, these wonderful subtle energetic remedies only work if you need them. What are you waiting for? You'll never know how well these remedies can work until you do the research and try them for yourself. Take a dance class along the lines of the first point in this section. You might try taking a dance class instead of taking up running. This decision would be much easier on your knees, your lungs, and your muscles overall, but it could still be just as worthwhile, if not more so. It just depends on your experience, your chakras, and your goals with Kundalini awakening. Overall, dance classes allow for physical exercise aligned with your mental and meditative goals, but also provide an outlet for creative expression that is likely not present for those who just choose to run or work out or attend Kundalini yoga classes. Therefore, attending dance class would work incredibly well for people working through lower chakra blockages, especially blockages in the sacral region. By connecting with music, rhythm, movement, passion, ecstasy, bliss, and inspiration, people who choose the dance class method will find release in the sacral and root chakras regardless. Some people need this specific release more than others. If you're stuck with your root, sacral, or solar plexus chakras, don't turn right toward running to be your exercise mode of release. That's better for crown, third eye, and throat chakra blocked people, anyways. Instead, join a dance studio and take a weekly class. Whether it's shamanic dance, modern dance, hip-hop, ballet, or otherwise, just getting your body moving will inspire the Kundalini, and every rhythmically planned step you take will only serve to align your life more with your greatest, most creative potential. Chapter 4, troubleshooting your awakening. While there are many positive signs and things that can go oh so right with Kundalini awakening, it also happens to be the case that, sometimes, it doesn't work out like you'd think. Sometimes, it doesn't seem like it's even working out at all. In those times, this chapter is here to help. We'll troubleshoot 3 different themes that could be affecting your process. First, we'll consider what might be holding you back. Second, we'll look at the potential dangers and risks that might be interfering with your process. Third and finally, we'll examine the most common mistakes people make in their awakening process, along with how you can expertly avoid them. By the end of this chapter, you should have found your personal slip-up, and you should be able to work at correcting it in no time. Point 12 Things that could be holding you back. There are so many things that could be paralyzing you on your journey. From emotional struggles to physical ones, or from going too fast to slow, there are various ways to accidentally get in your own way, but this section will help you at least open your eyes and realize what you can do to help. Physical challenges. The simple truth of the matter is that sometimes our bodies aren't ready for Kundalini awakening quite yet. In some cases, it's due to an autoimmune disorder. Sometimes, it's caused by a lack of ability in a certain part of the body. Sometimes, still, it's caused by the inability to practice meditation due to extensive daily anxiety. Regardless of the physical challenges that are getting in your way, you are not a failure. You will come to a point in your healing when you will be able to handle Kundalini awakening on top of everything else, but right now might not be that moment, and that's okay. Rushing one's Kundalini awakening can be detrimental sometimes, and it's always best to just take it at a pace that feels natural and non-stressful for your experience and needs. Experiencing things with too much intensity or too quickly. Sometimes, the chakras aren't that blocked, and they're relatively easy to open, cleanse, and align. For people that have this experience, the Kundalini awakening process may happen much faster than it would for the standard, highly blocked individual. If this is the case for you, you'll likely have an incredibly intense experience right from the beginning, and it could even become too intense because of the speed of transition. If you're not rushing things and they're still advancing intensely and quicker than anticipated, try to meditate every other day. Try to take a step back in your process and allow it to become calmer, rescaled to anticipate what you can handle. You may also benefit immensely from having a guide or guru. Some people do not do well with these types of relationships in healing and awakening, but because you're so highly sensitive, a teacher or mentor, even just a listening supporter, may be just the thing. Diet doesn't support awakening. It may sound far-fetched to some, and I'd be willing to bet this some group of people is comprised mostly of meat eaters, but sometimes, your diet will get in the way of your awakening. Saying that doesn't mean you need to go right ahead and cut out meat or dairy or gluten or sugar. It more so means that you may be able to aid your awakening process if you make a few slight adjustments. You can start by eating less processed food and more fruits and vegetables. If that's hard for you to do to start off, try beginning by eating one less meal with meat each week. Simply stand small and see how you feel, see how your body reacts. If a positive response is evoked, make additional changes in accordance. You're focusing on the wrong body part. Some issues with Kundalini awakening are rooted in the individual's abilities to focus, and these issues are easily adjusted with a switch of where one's attention goes when he or she meditates. For example, especially if you focus your energy into your head, or into your third eye, when you close your eyes to meditate, which most people do, you've found your problem right there. To instigate Kundalini awakening, you need to start off by focusing your energy into your heart, belly, and gut. The Kundalini needs a healthy environment to rise into, and if you're sending all that healthy attention to your third eye, you've skipped way beyond that gut space that the Kundalini meets first. Think of how the Kundalini will move and prepare your body accordingly. In essence, during your meditations, breathe deep into your stomach for a while and see what changes for you. Your mentality ignores the body or vice versa based on where Kundalini awakening came from in the modern day. With Yogi Bhajan and his practice of Kundalini Yoga, it makes sense that your practice of awakening can't just be mental in order to succeed. It has to be balanced with physical efforts, as you're able to complete them. The connection with yoga is important here, for that practice can do a lot to aid in your Kundalini's awakening. Mainly, Kundalini Yoga especially helps cleanse blockages in one's chakras through movement and body-focused breathing. In the same vein, one cannot instigate full Kundalini awakening through just the practice of yoga. There has to be a balance between mind-based and body-based approaches in your overall attempt. Otherwise, you will continue on in this state of internal imbalance. Poor or unsupportive mood. To a certain degree, Kundalini awakening can help readjust mood and emotional imbalances, but one has to get to that point first. It could be that those heightened mood and emotional imbalances are what's keeping you from any clear direction in your hopes of awakening. Check your mindset. Check your most common moods. If there's any way you can begin to adjust those mindsets and moods, you're sure to see some difference in your Kundalini practice in no time. It may sound complicated, pushy, or difficult now, but if you can somehow rise above any draining moods and emotions, you'll see your Kundalini rise in kind. Overwhelming urges for control. It is true that the purest Kundalini awakenings happen with absolutely no effort on behalf of the individual, but not all awakenings can happen like that. However, there are many distractions blocking the divine that are basically everywhere these days. Ultimately, there should be no ego-based forcing, pushing, or controlling involved in one's awakening. But this whole book still helps its reader through techniques and tips to aid in his or her self-guided awakening, so it really just comes down to finding a balance. If you're struggling with the process, try to establish a better balance between self-guidance and trying to do too much too quickly, then see what happens. Past trauma or PTSD is too strong of a blockage sometimes. The traumas we bore witness to in the past, or that we are currently surviving, create blockages for us that become so entrenched and so ubiquitously spread throughout our chakras that we become unable to guide ourselves through our own awakenings. That's not a GCHD or bad thing, it's simply a fact of life. If you feel that this sentiment applies to you, don't be put off from Kundalini awakening, for there is incredible and life-altering hope for you. It just means that you might have to work through your traumas separately first. Based on what you've experienced, it may be supportive to talk to someone about that experience, whether it's a friend, partner, guardian, on this plane or another, or therapist. Use in therapy or music therapy. If you'd rather not interact with another person, you'd rather not share your trauma with someone else, or you feel that you have no one else to share it with. Get that yuck out somehow. Try to be creative or communicative about it, and your Kundalini will stand rising in no time. Unwillingness to face one's true nature. Awakening can be a tricky process at times. It's not always just positive signs and good feelings and happiness. Sometimes, you'll be made to face your flaws, and the task will be this: change them or suffer no further Kundalini movement. It's a tough situation, but it definitely means that some people falter in the process of awakening because of these self-based reality checks. Furthermore, as the Kundalini rises initially through the throat, third eye, and crown chakras, before it starts free-flowing through all the open chakras, the individual will realize more and more how filled with divinity he or she is. For some, this awareness is frightening or too much to handle. Some are simply unwilling to embrace this potential. To offset from this situation, if you find you're being held back similarly, what you can do is to practice radical openness and acceptance of yourself, divinity, and others. No community of support. If you've ever heard someone say that Kundalini awakening will take your friends and family from you, you've probably just interacted with someone who tried to talk about his or her awakening with those closest to him or her, but the community couldn't or wouldn't support those efforts. This dismissal of awakening doesn't always happen, and even if it does happen to you in regard to your close friends or family, don't let yourself get too down in the mouth quite yet. There are a few things you can do in this case. 1. Leave Kundalini awakening out of it where these people are involved because, 2. As you continue on your awakening journey, your powers of attraction will be stronger than ever. With the right combination of hope and focus, you'll surely draw to you the right community of support in no time. 3. You can also keep trying with those friends and family, just with different tactics the next time. 4. You could even dismiss the idea of a supportive community entirely and build one yourself with information. There are a plethora of apps you can download that will help boost your awakening with supportive tips and advice, and for some people, this information switch is enough to make up for what people around them lack. No teacher or guide. While some people will be self-guided in their awakenings with no issue, others do work much better toward that experience with a teacher or at least a mentor helping and guiding their paths. If you feel lost and are desperately seeking a teacher, my first recommendation is to seek out a yoga studio that teaches Kundalini Yoga. Strike up a conversation with the teacher there and see what blossoms from there. Alternatively, you could seek out Kundalini chat rooms online, or if you prefer things in person, you could go to your local metaphysical store and ask around about meditation mentors. You never have to struggle alone. Let Kundalini guide your confidence to enable you to draw in the people whose help you'll need for growth. Environments don't support awakening, whether it's your home environment, your work environment, your economic environment, your natural environment, or otherwise. It is true that some spaces do not align with one's striving toward awakening. Sometimes, people talk trash, which can affect your flow. Sometimes, people might laugh at you for what you're passionate about. Other times, you might be surrounded with pollutants that keep, for example, your pineal gland calcified without your knowing. Trust your intuition here. If it feels like an unsafe place to meditate or do your yoga practice, try to find another space. If it feels like your well-being and sanity is threatened by being who you are and doing what you want to do, seek shelter elsewhere for this venture until you're strong enough to fight that vibe. You don't have to force this process, and you certainly don't have to do it where you're unable to feel safe. Point 10. Dangers and risks associated with awakening. While danger is a strong word to describe it, truly, there are some dangers associated with awakening, particularly in terms of going for more than you can handle. This section will explicitly list 10 risks so that you can check whether you're approaching things in a way that's more dangerous than necessary. If you relate to any of these 10 points, you will definitely have to change your approach if you ever hope to see true and lasting success with Kundalini awakening. However, some of these dangers are just symptoms that might scare you when you experience them, and the point is just to work through them. I'll note when this case is true for a particular sentiment. Overburdening or overwhelming the soul. There's always the risk of spiritually overexerting yourself. Anytime one forces or tries to kickstart Kundalini awakening, this risk is very present. Especially, if you're not in touch with your higher self or spirit guides, you may have an extremely hard time realizing where your chakras are blocked and how exactly to clear them. Furthermore, you may not realize until too late if you're overwhelming the Kundalini and awakening process as a whole, forcing your soul to handle more than what it's ready for. The best tactic is to just take things as they come without trying to do too much at once. Doing things too much and too quickly. There's equal risk for those who try to do too much and too quickly. This tactic almost certainly causes imbalance later, as the forced and quickened Kundalini is made to rampage through your system's vibration and somewhat ignore blockages in the chakras it passes through. This action, on the whole, damages one's Kundalini and creates additional states of disease in one's chakras, so please take me seriously here. Be careful not to do too much too quickly so that you won't have even more stuff to work through later on when you're ready to try again. Your body can't keep up with the mind sometimes. You won't really know you're doing too much and too quickly because it's all happening on the inside. In these cases, it's likely that your body can't keep up with the speed that your mind can handle. Like the point just above, this issue can mean future chakra imbalances and damages to your aura and Kundalini. So the best thing to do in response is to make sure that your practice applies a combination of body-based and mind-based practices. Meditating and chanting is one thing, but it can't be just this expression without yoga and even running or cycling, too. Align your body with your mind, and you will not have this issue. Lack of groundedness due to spiritual highs. As you work through and into the depths of your awakening, you may find yourself spiritually high at times, and you will be much less grounded in your earthen body whenever this comes to pass. This danger is more like a symptom, as mentioned in the introduction paragraph to this section. Most people will experience this groundlessness through the excitement of the Kundalini awakening. Your higher chakras will be opened wide, and you will stand the chance to be distracted by what you can perceive now. Whenever you're feeling like this dreamy, distracted, floaty, almost cloud-like, stand breathing deeply. Make one hand into a fist at your navel and imagine that you can drop a cord from this spot in your body straight down into the earth. As this cord drops and connects with nature, feel grounded and affirmed with your human body. This visualization should ease such high symptoms whenever they come up. Jerkiness and muscle spasms. As with the point directly above, jerkiness and muscle spasms are symptoms of Kundalini awakening that many, if not all, will experience in their processes. It only becomes coded as a risk or danger because the individual might not think that these actions are connected to his or her awakening and get scared for his or her own well-being. If ever you do have these spasms or involuntary jerks, breathe deeply and try to feel at ease. These are natural growing pains associated with awakening, and they will pass. Eventually, you won't have them at all anymore, but for now, breathe deeply and accept them. They're a good sign, believe it or not. Finding yourself alone in the dark night of the soul. Another symptom of awakening is the experience of the dark night of the soul. This period of time will come to pass for any involved in Kundalini awakening, and it's not necessarily a fun time, which is why it's coded as a danger or risk. Essentially, the dark night of the soul is when you feel like you've hit your lowest low. It's the moment after you face all the flaws in yourself and realize you can only move upwards, which is a daunting responsibility. You may lose someone close to you, like a mentor, friend, or loved one. You may find yourself feeling directionless or questioning everything you thought you knew was true and real and good. If you find yourself feeling these things, you haven't failed at awakening yourself. Know that to the depths of your core. You have not failed, you're right on track. For those who know someone very emotionally sensitive who's trying Kundalini awakening, keep close tabs on that person. The emotionally sensitive among us stand great risk when going through these periods alone. If they're too directionless and dejected, it can mean their lives, but we can always protect against that. We are stronger as a community together, and each of us will make it through this dark night with that backing strength. Trouble adjusting to new worldview. When you go into awakening, you may not realize all that has to change. Your relationship with popular culture, music, news, media, medicine, and more will absolutely and undoubtedly change. A symptom of these adjustments that sometimes poses as a risk or danger is that people can have trouble coming to terms with the new worldview. If you relate to this message, try not to fight what you're learning. Practice open and radical acceptance and remember that you would not be shown these things if it wasn't necessary for your soul and your Kundalini awakening. Trust in the universe and believe profoundly that the world is still beautiful without what you thought you knew. Reworking and resolving trauma, potentially alone. One symptom that gets coded as a risk or danger is that anyone who's experienced any level of trauma will be guided to work through those wounds and scars when they begin with their Kundalini's awakening. So many traumas find their root knot in one's base chakra, and the Kundalini rests there, right at the base of the spine, behind the genitals and reproductive organs. When it starts to rise, it will force the individual to process those blockages and resolve them, which can mean a lot of intimidating, or even triggering, work. Try not to isolate yourself during this process. You don't have to feel alone when you're working on such intense resolutions, but the key may be in becoming brave enough to ask for help. Ignoring one's transformative responsibility with drugs. It may seem absolutely reasonable to combine, say, psychedelic drugs with Kundalini awakening. If it's within your means, you might even be drawn to an ayahuasca ceremony or excessive marijuana smoking. Think about it, though. The Kundalini is working to move through all your chakras in their most clear expression, with no blockages and no numbness. Surely, it's possible that drugs can open your mind, but don't forget that sometimes that openness comes at the closing of something else. Your third eye might open, for example, but your solar plexus chakra will absolutely shut down for a moment or even a few days. Keep things on the inside on an even keel by using drugs as little as you possibly can during your Kundalini's awakening. If you find yourself unable to stop, it could be that addiction is what stands in your way more than anything else. Developing Kundalini syndrome. Kundalini syndrome is the reason why Kundalini awakening sometimes gets a bad reputation. Essentially, all these dangers and risks can pile themselves together into a syndrome of unpleasantness for certain awakening practitioners who are highly sensitive, already unbalanced, unusually easy to awaken, or otherwise. Kundalini syndrome looks like constant jitters and anxiety with so-called delusions of grandeur. People with the syndrome live mostly in their heads and have trouble relating to the physical earth plane. These people are stuck in a phase of awakening, and that stuckness could have been caused by forcing the process, speeding it up, or working through it for impure intention. To avoid the syndrome for yourself, take things as they come with your awakening and don't get too stressed out when things get tough. Believe with your heart that you will find balance and ease once more. You will make it to the other side of awakening, and then, with that belief planted deep in your heart, you're sure not to get stuck. 15 Biggest mistakes people have made, and how to avoid them. Since the onset of contemporary Kundalini work in the 1960s, multiple people have gone through the process, which means that many people have succeeded in achieving awakening and that some people have absolutely floundered. These people's mistakes will be like spiritual gold for you, for they'll help you learn, correct your path, and adjust before the detrimental mistake is made. Though some have fallen, their efforts will lift you up, and you will surely rise through those efforts combined with your own falling into the goodness ego trap. If you find yourself beginning to compare yourself with others on a basis of what's good and what's bad, despite having your Kundalini in a state of awakening, you have fallen into an ego trap. The first step to correct this mental blockage is to realize what you're doing. A truly awakened person will not judge others in this way. Notice what you're doing and work directly against it. Rethink the concepts of good and bad in their entirety and start looking for their reflection deep within yourself before you go out into the world projecting them onto others. Falling into the spiritual ego trap. If you find yourself beginning to compare yourself with others on a basis of who's more spiritual than who, you've fallen into another ego trap. By judging others in any aspect, much less degrees of spirituality, you put your ego in a position where it's more important and louder than your soul. True spirituality finds a balance of ego and soul, if not a muting of ego to benefit soul. So if you find yourself thinking these things or following these trains of logic, stop yourself right there and correct it. The more you're conscious of doing, judgment-wise, the easier it will be to stop making such assumptions and growing as a truly spiritual being. Falling into the love and light ego trap. If you find yourself beginning to compare yourself with other awakened others on a basis of who expresses the purest love vibration, you're putting yourself into another ego trapping position. Not every spiritual expression involves love and light at the end, and not everyone should. In fact, darkness and shadow are as important forces in the universe as love and light are, so focusing on these latter concepts would just create energetic imbalance. Lose the judgment. Remember how important balance is in all things. Falling into insincere niceness as you proceed down the path of awakening, people will become drawn to you. You will experience an increase in natural charisma, and when people come to you, they will expect help and guidance. Unfortunately, that means it will become abundantly clear for others when you're being insincere. Therefore, do whatever you can in the coming weeks, months, and years to only express niceness when you really believe it and mean it. Insincere niceness will turn people off from you at every turn until it's transmuted into something more productive. If you notice yourself falling into this emotional rut, you'll need a jolt of something to reset yourself emotionally before real progress can be made. Falling into judgmental comparisons, whether it is based on goodness, spirituality, lightness, or anything else you can come up with, any judgmental comparison you make will be proof of a big mistake in play for you. Judgment is not a part of ascension, and it will find its death in a true awakening process. As you move deep into awakening, take note of your patterns of thought. Start to notice when your thoughts, emotions, or statements involve judgment and redirect those things before they're vocalized into the world. Change your language, change your thoughts, change your thoughts, change your world. Giving up too soon. The most common mistake for Kundalini awakening is to try for a few days then give up because nothing is happening. I promise, something's happening. It's just only beginning, and those first wiggles of the Kundalini won't feel like anything for a while. It will, and should, take a good bit of time to fully achieve awakening. Awakening should not be forced or pushed. It should not take a few days. It should not even take a few weeks. In all honesty, it can even take longer than a few months or a few years, as it should, for the Kundalini awakening process requires a lot of respect and responsibility on behalf of the individual. Sometimes, the personality needs a little work before it's able to devote such energy to such a powerful development. If you're feeling impatient and want to give up, keep going about it the way you have been. Don't give up, for the outcome will be well worth the effort. Rushing or forcing the process. Numerous pieces of advice in this chapter warn of the dangers of rushing your awakening process. Please, 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 do not force yourself open. Allow patience and proper timing to be instilled in your process. Allow yourself to understand the importance of proper timing. Remember, too, that what you may be pushing for so intently might not be as glorious as you think. Awakening requires the shedding of layers, the transformation of unproductive to good, and the loss of what's been toxic. It's not necessarily easy or glamorous, and it should absolutely not be rushed into. To avoid this mistake, take things easy and remember what awakening is really all about. Losing discipline through the process. While Kundalini awakening should not be rushed, its practices should at least be constant in order for the best outcome to be achieved with the least harshness of transition. Make sure that you don't fall into the mistake of losing discipline throughout the process. So many people stand strong and dedicated and lose their verve after a week. Instead of falling into the same rut, try to be conscious of what's happening with your energy level over time and plan accordingly with your awakening. Plan your meditation and yoga periods during the times that you know will work with your waking and sleeping schedule. Overall, make the practice of maintaining discipline as effortless and natural as possible. Spending less time, or no time, with nature. One of the more common mistakes involved with Kundalini awakening deals with one's mindset and setting, as if one was going on a psychedelic trip. Your mindset has to be right, but so does your environment, and in this case, environment actually means the natural world. Make sure that you spend time with nature weekly during your process of awakening. Without that environmental boost, your awakening may become lopsided toward the benefit of humanity over the earth, and as always, balance is key. Nature will inspire you, center you, ground you, and teach you, and the Kundalini is a snake after all. Get in nature, I promise that it will make everything so much more manageable. Looking at spirituality as the end goal or destination. One other common mistake is the view of spirituality or Kundalini awakening as if it was the end goal in and of itself. I've been trying to shape my language in this text to reflect that spirituality and Kundalini awakening are not like some mountain peaks that we can climb to and conquer. They're so much more like oceans or abysses to climb into and explore for eternity. While there are certainly goals within Kundalini awakening that you're working towards, the ultimate goal in the process is to realize that it's exactly what it all is: process, practice, and experience. By shifting how you look at things and how you talk about awakening, you can make sure you don't fall into the pitfalls of this mistake. Using the process simply to get psychic powers. Similar to the previous point, this one insists that your end goal should not just be psychic awakening and that's it. If you're going into Kundalini awakening with any goals other than to experience all the facets of divinity and spirituality in yourself and the world, then your intentions are impure, and whether you like it or not, your Kundalini can sense that. In this case, your awakening may end up becoming problematic or strife-ridden, but there's a surefire way to avoid this mishap. Don't go into awakening just to get psychic powers or even just physical healing. Consider the whole experience and devote yourself to the blossoming of your true potential, no matter what that means for your body. It's just a shift in focus and then things can be back on the right track. Looking for answers primarily outside oneself as you go through the process of awakening. A big mistake to fall into is that you might accidentally create a routine where you constantly look outside yourself for answers, forgetting your own intuition. Kundalini awakening is about connecting yourself to the bigger sense of you, whether manifested through your higher self, the communities you're engaged with, your spirit guides, your family, your soul mission, or otherwise. Therefore, if you find yourself looking for answers only outside of you, you're liable to reach imbalance in the process. Remember to look deep inside and try not to shy away from things you might not like in yourself. Processing all those kinks will be part of what helps you through awakening out to the other side. Getting overly attached to spiritual practice while your practice of Kundalini awakening is certainly important and will surely become important to you. Try not to get too attached to your routines, even the ones oriented towards growth. The more attached you get to anything, the more you stand to suffer, and Kundalini, spirit, or divinity might just try to test you by taking away the effectiveness of your practice just to shake things up. If that happens, it's just to get you to remember that spiritual development can happen without any practice or routine whatsoever. It just so happens that practice can help, but it is not everything. To avoid this problematic attachment, therefore, switch it up often and don't let yourself get too connected to any one method. Stay flexible, stay open to all the experience awakening has to offer, and remember, awakening is not something you can have, own, or possess, it's a practice, and you should never fully control that. Using the process simply to contact the dead. Some people approach Kundalini awakening with a specific end goal in mind, to contact the dead. While this type of awakening has the power to connect you with planes outside and around Earth and dimensions that are beyond ours, you should never practice awakening just to have this experience. Like with several points above, this end goal makes your practice impure and will end up affecting future imbalance in your health, chakras, and intellect. You can easily avoid this mistake by making sure not to focus your awakening around just one facet, especially this one. Using the process hoping to be set free finally, it can be the case that Kundalini awakening helps the individual feel freer than he or she has ever felt before, more liberated to be him or herself, and more able to do exactly what spirit calls him or her to do. However, as with the point above, the end goal of your process should not be this freedom. Instead, allow freedom to be a happy symptom or side effect if, and when, it arises, but don't let your focus fall on it completely. Be there for the experience and let what happens happen. Let go of control, expectations, and attachments, and the Kundalini shall surely rise. Chapter 5, Kundalini Masters Class. Now that you're basically a master on Kundalini and its awakening symptoms and process, it's time to advance you to the Kundalini Masters Class. In this chapter, you'll be introduced to the juiciest tidbits of potential tied up in Kundalini awakening, from chakra alignment to astral projection and additional psychic gifts. The challenge in approaching this chapter is to maintain a pure reason for attempting awakening in your own life. Don't get caught up in pride and ego desires, but just read this chapter and become aware of what's in your future if you follow this path. Simply read, accept, and trust what's to come. Chakra healing and alignment. With the knowledge of what each chakra does and what chakra blockages mean in reference to your overall goal of awakening, you should now be able to take things a step further in reference to your own chakra healing. The following is a guided meditation for chakra alignment that you can read along to, or record yourself reading aloud and play back as you go, and try out. Essentially, we'll walk through one method for aligning your open chakras and inviting the serpent to rise. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Imagine that you're on a beach by a cool, clear lake. Picture the surroundings of this tranquil place, where you're alone with maybe a lake house behind you that feels like it's yours. Knowing that you're in a beautiful yet safe and secure space makes you feel utterly relaxed, strong, and at peace. Suddenly, you realize that you're not on the beach, you're actually sitting in the lake and the water comes up to mid-chest level. You feel completely content with this decision, as the water feels somewhat warm and comforting in the summer breeze. You close your eyes in the meditation as well as in the real world. If you cared to open your eyes, you'd see that the water is in fact so clear that it almost looks like there's nothing there. You'd see that it almost looks like you're just sitting on a ground of colorful gravel, but when you move your arms, you know better. When you move, you can see, and feel, the ripples. In this clear and calm lake, you sit. As you find peace in being there and trust that nothing will harm you, you relax in a way that you haven't been able to do in a long time. You allow yourself to breathe deeply and roll your shoulders down to release any tension there. You roll your head from side to side to release strain in that area, too. Eventually, you bring your neck and chest to center and you start to visualize your central channel. In this inner column of energy, you visualize a free-flowing wave of white light. You have the sense that the white light is flowing so strongly and purely that it's turning the water around you white, too. You peep open an eye and confirm your intuition. The water you're sitting in is still the same temperature and texture, but it now looks like a bath of milk. You breathe in that purifying feeling and close your eyes once more. Remembering that free-flowing column of white light, you take your visualization back to that space. Knowing that your chakras blockages have all been cleared helps you feel confident moving forward, and you allow yourself to get all but mesmerized with the beauty of that inner white light. However, the Light cannot last, and you know that this channel, this powerful column, can be used for something even more important than just centering you in this moment. In this calming, milky lake in the middle of your safe, secure space, you begin to hum bravely. You don't really know the song you're humming, and it might just be one tone hummed with the sound Om. Whatever the song is, it's been with you always, and it's a supportive song that feels right for this moment. As you hum your song, it's like you're charming a snake, for Kundalini seems to love the sound. Sure enough, the small snake that lies coiled up at the base of your spine starts to move up, uncoiling and winding through your chakra energy wheels in search of the source of the sound. Normally, you might be afraid of the image of a snake within you, but knowing that your body is rooted in this natural, imaginative space somehow protects you and shields you from any harm. You trust this fact and know it in your heart to be true. Unafraid and excited, you hum more and more while Kundalini rises and winds through the root chakra to the sacral, around the solar plexus, and then up to heart and throat. You notice that the serpent stays a while around throat chakra, and you assume that it's because Kundalini enjoys the sound of your humming so much. Ultimately, Kundalini knows it must continue, so in the peace of your body, resting in the peace of the lake, homed in the peace of this still, safe space, Kundalini rises once more. Kundalini comes up into your face to lick the third eye and crown chakras before turning and coming right back down through all the same chakras once more, down through third eye to throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. As the first cycle of serpent's winding is completed, you feel filled with potential, and you sigh with relief. You seem to feel that everything is right in the world and that your direction is being revealed to you as you draw this very breath. In the cool, completely clear water, you open your eyes and see that the world has become so much brighter, sounds are clearer, smells are crisper, and the water feels lighter than air. You stand and reach out your arms to the world of this space and simply breathe in its beauty, knowing that you are full of the same exact potential, the same prana and shakti inspiring both you and nature. You breathe deeply and open your eyes to the world. Reaching higher planes of consciousness. If you have goals of accessing higher planes of consciousness, Kundalini awakening is a great place to start. In fact, Kundalini awakening itself instigates awareness of these higher planes, and some people even gain access to them, but it always helps to have a guide at your disposal. For those interested in reaching these states of consciousness with the help of eager Kundalini, the following section provides the guide that you need. The following 8 steps will lead you to the access you seek, when performed for the right reasons. First, clear your mind completely. Before you embark on the journey to other planes of consciousness, you'll need to make sure that you don't bring any unnecessary emotional baggage with you, so check it at the door. Close your eyes and breathe into a meditative focus. Try to eliminate as many thoughts as possible from your mind, let them dissolve like salt in water or like snow on hot pavement. Let them evaporate from your mind until a still and calm inner space is achieved. This still space is absolutely essential to attain moving forward, so you'll want to ensure it's a strong one. Hold this space in mind for as long as possible before even moving on to the second step. Second, evoke the central channel. Meditatively shift your consciousness now to see this central channel illuminated within you as best as possible. If you're still working through any recent blockages, you might see those as darker spots in the channel, but hopefully, no spots exist whatsoever. As you visualize this central channel, fill it with that same bright white light as the last section and imagine that you can add love to that light energy. Love is a vibration you'll want to carry with you as you journey into other realms, for it is part of what's so unique about being human. If you ever get lost, you can always follow that vibration back to where you came from, but that matters later. For now, just focus on breathing and boosting that central channel with as much love and light as possible. Third, allow the serpent to rise. Once it's comfortable to do so and once it knows the channel is ready, Kundalini will come out to play. At this point, you can meditatively visualize Kundalini following its winding path through your chakras once more, up from the base to the crown and back down again. See how many slow and steady cycles you can withstand witnessing before you are pushed into action. Simply watch the serpent complete its inner course and trust in its energetic potential for you. Express love to Kundalini and trust in the universe and then follow the next step. Fourth, accept and express gratitude for your body, and don't let yourself forget about what your physical body does for you even on a daily basis. It's a source of great strength and support, and it will remain solid and secure on the earth plane while your consciousness and soul explore others. Breathe in that truth and breathe out your trust. Additionally, express a powerful wave of acceptance and love for your body. Feel grateful for all that it does for you and be proud of what you've accomplished with it. Whether your past life experiences come to mind or your conquering of chakra blockages to allow for Kundalini awakening does instead, simply remember all your body has done for you and be proud. Know that future experiences with this earthen form will absolutely benefit your growth. 5th, check your goals against your higher self. You must have come to this experience in search of higher planes of consciousness for a reason, and that reason might not be backed by the purest of intentions. Try to be as honest with yourself as possible as you search to define the real reason why you want this type of access to other planes of consciousness. Once you've divined the answer, check it against your higher self. Some people ask this question in the form of, WWJD? IV, what would Jesus do? You'll ask it in terms of, what would my best self do? Use that insight to inform your experience as you likely decide to move forward. 6th, state the goal you have in mind to Kundalini. Once you've checked and altered those goals based on your interactions with your higher self, you should also check to make sure that your Kundalini can handle such cosmic connectivity right now. Check in with Kundalini again and make sure it's not overburdened, exhausted, or that it got accidentally rerouted from its path winding through the central channel. As long as Kundalini is operating normally, then things should be good to go. Don't push things, however. It sure sounds fun to visit higher planes of consciousness, but if Shakti isn't there with you somehow because you jumped the gun with Kundalini's readiness, you'll surely regret it, for the experience will be nowhere near what you imagined. 7th, let Kundalini take you there. As Kundalini expresses its approval of your goals, let go of the reins and let Kundalini take control. Trust that this vehicle of source energy will get you where you need to be, and feel the company of your angels and guardians, too, for they'll surely be able to make this transplane journey with you. 8th, make sure that you've developed a tactic to return. Accessing higher planes of consciousness, and other planes of existence, can be an experience similar to astral projection and travel at times, and you'll have to remember where you came from so you know where to return to. You won't want your consciousness floating out in the ether for anyone to imprint on or get interested in. In order to ensure that doesn't happen, make a return plan before you even leave for the higher plane. If you've seen the film Inception, take a note from their book and bring a token with you that will remind you which world is real. It might sound crazy, but the more awakened you and your Kundalini become, the more immersive meditation experiences of this nature you'll have for yourself. Astral projection and travel. Different from traveling to higher planes of consciousness with Kundalini's help, you can also astrally project and travel with the same type of aid. When going to other planes of consciousness, the soul and mind go to another level of thought that impacts the BCO in ways standard words or knowledge would never be able to do. But when using astral travel, one can actually go to other dimensions, realities, worlds, and more. This section will serve as a guide for those who seek to develop abilities of astral projection and travel, for these gifts are more complicated than they may seem at first. First, clear your mind completely in a meditative state. Let your mind become clear of thoughts and emotions. Let any urges, desires, needs, or calculations exit your mind as well. The goal is to have calm, serene silence within the mind. Before you travel to other energetic planes, you need to make sure that you're as pure of an energetic expression as possible. You don't want to end up going out into these other planes with energetic blockages that keep you from coming home just because of one thought that stuck out before you left. Try to eliminate that possibility from happening by maintaining this calm, composed mind before moving any further in the process. Second, evoke the central channel and raise the Kundalini. With your calm and collected mind, remember that central channel. Let it become illuminated with the same warm white light and then allow Kundalini to feel invited to rise. Without any blockages in its way, the serpent cautiously yet comfortably winds to your crown chakra and then back down again. Third, allow yourself and the Kundalini to meld together in a hypnotic state. With Kundalini flowing through your chakras and activating the central channel, close your eyes and try to visualize what's happening in detail on the inside. Watch Kundalini methodically rise and fall. Feel supported by those efforts, but also allow those conscious thoughts and emotions to fade away once more. You want to get hypnotized by this motion, get lost in it. All that matters is that you and Kundalini are one, and its motion within you begins to create a vibration that pronounces, "I'm ready for travel." Fourth, remember that your mind has so much more power than your body. Before you embark on the astral voyage, you'll want to partially ground yourself with this knowledge, and the best way to do so is to ground yourself, so to speak, in the astral body. With those eyes closed and your mind in this hypnotized state, begin to connect with the body that's not yours. I mean is this: when you visualize squeezing your fist, it's not your actual body that moves, but you are imagining a body that's yours, that's not actually your physical body, doing the work. In this sense, I want you to connect with the version of your body that exists in the mental realm and that's affected when you visualize things. Try to move each finger and toe of that imagined body separately. Create several other exercises for yourself to root with this astral body, and your transplane journey will become all the easier. A few other things you can try are imagining doing jumping jacks, doing a cartwheel, counting on your fingers, juggling, and doing an intricate dance. Fifth, connect to your subtle energy. You've worked to connect with your physical body, you've done the same and connected with Kundalini, and you're connected with your astral body, but what about what's left? There's always an additional layer of subtle energy vibrating all around you due to the other carbon-based life forms, and technological devices, in our world. Try to get in touch with that energy layer now. With your still partially hypnotized mind and your openness to the whole experience, allow yourself to feel a buzzing at the edge of your being as your astral body begins to separate from your physical body. This buzzing or vibrating is a good sign. It says that things are going exactly the way they should. Not everyone feels these vibrations before astral projection, however. Sixth, let visualization take control. With your eyes closed, start to see your body as if you were floating above it looking down. Let your soul, essentially, become elevated and weightless as it rises above your own body. Like the rising Kundalini, your soul floats up to its highest potential and back down, just starting to explore the space around you. It wanders through your room and house but does not get outside your home to start. There's still a bit of safety making and grounding work to do before that final step into the ether can be achieved. Seventh, and maybe most important, always keep your knot in mind. There will be a silver cord that attaches your astral BCO to your physical body, and that will sometimes be the only thing that can help you get back home. Don't forget to mind this physical and energetic root cord. As you have been exploring your room or your home, did you notice that cord yet? If so, that's wonderful. If not, you may not be having a full, pure astrally projective experience quite yet, but keep running with the visualization to see where it takes you. Eighth, allow yourself to explore the astral plane you've found, with baby steps first, of course. Now that you see your silver grounding or homing cord, go ahead and see what's around. Look around your neighborhood and maybe your city. Stay on the earth plane at first so that you don't get too overwhelmed. Eventually, you can try to explore completely different planes, realities, and dimensions, but your home density is always a safe and familiar place to start. Clairvoyance and other psychic gifts. If you approached Kundalini awakening in the first place hoping for some level of psychic awakening, don't feel dejected or misled. Kundalini awakening will absolutely align you better with your intuition, deeper insights, and soul's mission. Furthermore, it will allow you to unlock additional psychic gifts on levels you may not have even known existed before your Kundalini rose. This section will walk you through several different psychic gifts that are possible to attain, and as you strengthen your general manifestation and attraction abilities with Kundalini awakening, you may even be able to pick and choose these gifts for your experience and needs, based on what you read below. Astral projection is the psychic gift explored in the previous section, and it is essentially the ability to explore other realms with your consciousness voluntarily. Aura reading is another psychic gift that is basically exactly what it sounds like. Many of us have the gift of aura reading in our own way, and if anyone tries to tell you that only one version of aura reading is right, they're not telling you the full truth. Everyone who can see auras sees them a little bit differently because everyone is unique in their own way. Therefore, if you believe you can see auras, but it doesn't fit with others' experiences, don't worry, trust yourself and believe in your gift. Automatic writing is a psychic gift that involves channeling, the next point in this list, to a certain extent. Essentially, this gift allows the writer to be able to channel his or her higher self, guides, angels, guardians, or more in that person's effort to be verbally creative. Channeling is a psychic gift that allows the individual to enter a trance and let another spirit speak through them for a time. It's sort of like demonic or angelic possession, but it's voluntary. The person who acts as the channel will almost always be fully willing to let the spirit talk through him or her. Clairaudience is a psychic gift that revolves around the ability to hear outside the standard range of human hearing. People with these gifts would be able to hear into other planes of existence, even into supernatural worlds. Clairgustance is an unusual psychic gift that is oriented around taste and eating. Individuals with this gift would randomly get a taste in their mouth and then receive messages later on in relation to that taste. Furthermore, these clear tasters would be able to taste something before even putting it on their tongue. Clairsalience is a psychic gift that revolves around the ability to smell outside the standard range of human smelling. Perhaps you would smell something before it happened, such as spilled food or a gas main break or fire. Perhaps you would be able to smell someone's vice on him or her before even striking up conversation. The possibilities are virtually endless. Clairsentience is the psychic gift that allows one to simply feel the presence of something more. Whether that more is a spirit, a guide, an ancestor, a demon, or what have you, this individual would sense the physical, or spiritual, energy of that being before anyone else. Clairvoyance is a more commonly heard of psychic gift that features the ability to see information in one's mind. These people might receive visions or see physical insights into others' lives, but the gist is the same each time. Things are always visual. Divination is the general application of one's psychic gifts to find answers to questions. Divination can be used in terms of reading palms, tea leaves, I Ching, natal charts, tarot cards, crystals, runes, and so much more. Dowsing is a more old-school psychic gift that our ancestors used to find things. Sometimes, dowsing is guided with a rod or sticks, but the point is to find what's important to you. It was often water or shelter, when you might even have no idea what you're looking for. Empathy is a psychic gift that allows you to literally feel or take on the emotions of another person. Empaths are often highly sensitive to the feelings of others to a detrimental degree until they learn how to ground themselves and protect their energy from all too natural invasion by others. Intuition is an underrated psychic gift, for it truly is an example of precognition. Anyone whose intuition was right essentially received a momentary glimpse into the future, so the next time your intuition is right, be proud for your unlocking psychic gifts as you live and breathe. There's the first piece of proof. Mediumship is the highly coveted psychic ability of contacting those who have passed. Many people are fascinated, if not obsessed, with communing with the spirits of those who are no longer living, and Kundalini awakening can help you get there, but you'll really want to be careful. Mediumship can be an incredibly draining gift, and it's not for the faint of heart. I guess what I'm saying is this: be careful what you wish for. Premonition is the psychic ability of being able to see into the future. This gift is often more symbolic than literal, but the gist is the same whether the message is literal or figurative. The individual with the gift of premonition will know of future events before they come to pass. Psychometry is a sense-based psychic gift that connects the individual with truth or facts about an object, thing, animal, place, or person just by touching it. Retrocognition is the psychic ability of being able to see into the past with varying degrees of detail. Sometimes, those glimpses are into one's past lives, while other times, they're general peeks into the past that have no relation to your experience, as far as you know. Telekinesis is a psychic ability that allows the individual to manipulate matter with his or her mind, whether moving it, energizing it, or otherwise. Telekinetic individuals can sometimes do such amazing things as walk through walls, bend firm objects, trash a room without being in it, call people to their aid without speaking, and more. Telepathy is the final psychic gift we'll discuss, and it relates to the power of the individual to communicate with others without opening one's mouth. This alternative mode of communication would likely be through thought, emotion, or vibration. Conclusion: as you approach this final page of Kundalini, the ultimate guide to awakening your chakras through Kundalini yoga and meditation and to experiencing higher consciousness, clairvoyance, astral travel, chakra energy, and psychic visions, another set of thanks is in order. Thank you for making it all the way to this point. I hope that the experience you felt was worthwhile and that you learned quite a lot in the process. Now that you have this guide and all its information, the next step is to put your plans in motion. You should have a good idea about whether or not you're ready to begin your Kundalini awakening process at this point, or if it's already happened/happening to you, and if so, you should have this so-called plan partially drawn up. Next, it'll be time to start changing your routines to support your oncoming awakening. It'll be time to begin adjusting your attitude, trying out meditating more often, or even just incorporating it into your daily process. With a few simple switches, you will be surprised how quickly the effects start making themselves known. Overall, if you've found this text and its information useful, be sure to leave a review on Amazon. The reviews are highly appreciated and help me incorporate the best information for future books based on what my readers truly want. Let me know what works and what doesn't. I appreciate your help regardless. Thanks again for the download and for making it all the way through this book. The next steps are up to you. It's bound to be quite the adventure. If you enjoyed this book, a review on Amazon would be greatly appreciated because it helps me to create more books that people want. Click here to leave a review for the book. Thanks for your support.